Not so much full of himself, but a little bit. Very intense. Yeah, right. Oh, cool. Oh, your microphone's cutting out. You still there? Oh, now I can, your microphone just kind of cut out a couple times there. Got it? Oh, and I have that picture on. I'll turn that picture off for now. What did I want to start with for an image? I'm going to start with this image. And I feel like there should be a director counting down. 1, 2, 3. Solar Dale is here. And Silver Q, how you doing? I'll be watching on my TV, so I won't be able to respond. Don't worry about it. Solar Dale, I would like to understand how Mario he got into the last 16 per the website. But there were 5 other players with a 3-2 score that scored overall higher than Mario. Oh, that's something I haven't looked at. I did not look at the results from the round robins to understand that, Dale, so I can't answer your question. Hey, somebody pipe up and tell me that you can hear me. And can you hear Chris?
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Shortstop on Pool. We're going to have a talk about the straight pool tournament that was just last week. Friday, I was on the airplane home 1 week ago. So it's been a whirlwind week. And I have a list of things here to talk about, and I have some video clips and some images to show you. So this is just going to be a free-for-all, and I invited little Chris because he's a student of straight pool, and he can help me stay on track, watch the chat, and ask questions as well. And so I'm looking forward to his input. So Dale, I can't tell. Oh, good. Both microphones sound good. I can't tell you how Mario got in, but I can tell you, and I'll talk about it in a sec, Mario definitely deserved to win. I watched several of his matches, including the finals, and he really can play straight pool. Let me tell you, it's no coincidence that he repeated. He won last year too. So let's see. Just so you know, I've got some clips on here that I'm going to show, and I got them off from digitalpool.com. So I want you guys to be aware, if you're interested in straight pool, and I'm not going to show it right now, but go to digitalpool.com. You can sign up for their website for different tournaments or a general sign up. They have videos of tournaments from all over the country, amateur and pro tournaments. So if you go there and type in the word international in the search box, it will bring up the international 9-ball event, 10-ball event, amateur event, straight pool, and you can watch all the videos. They had cameras on every single table. So you can watch a video of every single match from the round robins and the final 16, single elimination. So that's what I did. I paid the money. I don't know, it was 30 or 40 bucks, and you get access to all of those matches for a month. And so you can you can overdose on all the straight pool or 9-ball or whatever you want. So I'm using some video clips from their website under terms of fair use for commentary and critique. But the full videos, I want to promote them. Digitalpool.com. Go there and check them out. So the images you're looking at on the screen right now are the arena. So as you know, last year it was at Q Masters. This is a picture of Q Masters. So Q Masters is a regular pool hall, and they have several rooms in Q Masters. This is 1/3 of the back room, which has all the diamonds, something like 20 diamond tables, and that's where the tournament was the last 2 years. So you can see this is a pool hall type setup. And I took this picture from the bleachers. So all along that wall are bleachers with seats that go, 5 or 6 rows high. So you're able to sit in those bleachers and watch any of the matches, and it's really cool. So this year, the tournament was taken over by Pat Fleming of AccuStats, and it got melded into the international event, which is a 9-ball event, and then a 10-ball invitation only on the big table, and then the straight pool, and then there's a couple of amateur events. So there's 2 pictures looking in 2 different directions on the screen. On the bottom picture, you can see they grouped the tables in groups of 4. So you have tables and chairs going around, and there's cameras on every single table. So on the back of that picture on the bottom, you can't see the corner of the room. There's 3 sets of 4. So there's 12 tables there, and then 8 tables here. And then if you look on the top picture, you can see the TV arena with the announcer's booth, and that's the one for all the feature matches. And they'll have multiple cameras, and they have a camera on a boom with a camera operator operating the camera and moving it around. and he gets all kinds of angles. So anytime you see, if you go to digitalpool.com, it'll say streaming area or feature area, and that's that area. And then on the far side, there's about another 20 tables, which were for the amateur events and overflow from the pro events. And then if you went through a door on the far side, there's another room which had about a dozen 7-foot tables, diamond tables set up, and they had mini tournaments in there during the 9-ball event. So this international, just for those of you who don't know, this international event kind of sort of similar to Derby. They don't have one pocket, but it's a week-long thing with multiple events. Amateurs and pros alike show up. So I just want to promote the international as well. They're going to host the straight pool again next year. Knock on wood, they're working on it. And they're going to improve it. So the one criticism I have, if you look at the pictures, you can see the tables with the red cloths over them. All the spectators can sit there. Well, you're sitting in a regular chair that's down at the level of the table. You really can't see what's going on. And so they're aware of that, and I don't know if it'll change. That's really the situation you get for any of you who go to the BCA and the VANEA Nationals in Las Vegas. It's regular height chairs, and it can be hard to see what's going on the table. That's my only criticism. But if you watch the videos, these are the camera angles that you get from the videos. So you get an excellent view from the cameras.
So I have a question, Bob.
Go ahead.
Given that you've been to this straight pool event before it was meshed into the International Open, would you say that it was to the benefit of straight pool? Like, is in comparison to the previous events that you've gone to, would this be an improvement?
It's hard to say. Yes, in the respect that the reason why they did it is to not compete. So last year they had a huge problem in that Matchroom scheduled a ranking 9-ball event at the last minute 90 miles away from Q Masters. So they had a whole bunch of pros pull out of the straight pool event to go play 9-ball because it was a ranking event. Now, the International, I don't think it's associated with Matchroom, but it's kind of an independent event. But because it's part of they moved it into the International, where there's a 9-ball event there, you're not going to have a conflict for the World 9-ball Tour. And so for that reason, there was a good field of pros. Now, not all of them played, because Federer didn't play, Joshua Filler didn't play straight pool, and he played the 9-ball and the 10-ball, but he didn't play the straight pool. I'm not sure why. So it's a mixed bag. I prefer this. I prefer a pool hall atmosphere. But there's no question that the International is a better atmosphere for the spectators, especially if they work out better seating. Because they put the tables in groups of 4, so you can sit in between 2 groups and watch multiple tables at the same time, or go closer to any table that you want to watch.
Well, so with regards to pros and non-pros alike, how many players were limited to the straight pool event versus like how many would be for the 9-ball event or whatever? Because I imagine the 9-ball event was probably 128 to 256,
right?
Maybe?
Yeah,
and
there were a lot of.
What was straight pool? 64? Because I don't think it was 128.
42.
40, even better, 42.
So there were 42, and it's a round robin. So there were 7 groups of 6 players. So you're in a group with 5 other players, so you get to play 5 matches. That's one thing that I love about straight pool round robin for the straight pool is, like, if you go to a 9-ball event and you lose your first 2 matches, you're done because it's double elimination. But here you get to play 5 matches, and even if you lose all 5, you get to play 5 matches, and so that's awesome. They would love to have had more than 42, and they had the tables to handle it. But it's always going to be in multiples of 6, or if they get a lot of players, then they'll group them into groups of 7, and then you get to play 6 matches, which is cool. But they have to have a lot of players for that. So this was the first time. It was new for everybody. and they had to coerce some of the pros to play, and there were lots of open slots for amateurs. So every group of 6 had at least one amateur who was in the high 600, low 700 Fargo, and some groups had 2 amateurs. So that makes it great for us amateurs. You really get a chance to play and play some people of your own skill level too. So hopefully next year they can get it up to, what would that be, 48 or 56 players. That would be fantastic. I'm crossing my fingers, and I'll do everything I can to promote it. So they had a friend of mine who I played pool with. He lives in Sun City, Arizona, and I drove up there a couple times and played on he has a 10-foot Brunswick Anniversary, beautiful table. And he's a straight pool fanatic, and we played straight pool. And he was on a month-long trip. He spent a couple weeks with Mark Wilson, and then another week at a different tournament, and then went to the International. So he's sitting there, and Carl Kantrowitz, who's the referee for the straight pool tournament, came up to me and said that they had a player who had to drop out. So if I knew of anybody who wanted to play, they can get in. So I went to my friend Don right away, and I said, dude, you can play and you need to play. Go sign up. So he signed up. So that was pretty cool. But that's kind of the situation for it right now. What do you think about the quality and quantity of pool halls in the U.S. compared to international? I have not been out of the country to witness the pool halls, but I've had some exposure based on what I see online. The United States is dominated by 7-foot tables. That's the answer. If you go to any typical pool hall in the United States, like Main Street and Dozers are the 2 main ones here on the south side of Phoenix, and they're both the same in that they have about 10 nice 9-foot tables. And they have 20 to 25 7-foot diamonds. And they have leagues 5 or 6 nights a week. And that's the reality of American pool halls. In order to make money, they have to get the league players in there, make money off the tables, and then make money selling them drinks and food. And that's the sad reality. And Mike Siegel even talked about that during the straight pool tournament. Because in the 1970s and 80s, most pool halls had almost all 9-foot tables, and off in the corner, they would have 2 or 4 7-foot tables. That's the way most pool halls were in the 70s and 80s. In the 90s, it changed. There's a post from Shane Van Boning talking about this just in the last week on Facebook. He said, and that's what Shane Van Boning said as well, in the 90s, it changed. The bar table leagues exploded. For whatever reason, I don't know. And so that's the way it is. It's different in Europe because they have government-sponsored sports associations that are linked to the Olympic committees, and they get money from the government, and they have formal training programs. So as a teenager or even younger, you can get enrolled in these training programs, and by the time you're 18 years old, you play as good as Joshua Filler because you've had coaches and regular training. And there's nothing like that exists in the United States. So the pool halls that I've seen online are like the old time. The pool halls that I've seen online in Europe are like the old time pool halls in America, all 9-foot tables. And if you go to the Philippines, it's all 9-foot tables in the Philippines. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that I can't. The exposure that I've had, like when I go to London for the Moscone Cup, is a difference in game as well, because like in Europe, snooker is the popular game.
Yeah.
Right. So their snooker clubs are going to have their 6 by 12 foot tables, and I think even English pool is also more popular overseas as well, and those are played I think on like 6-foot tables with
6-foot tables.
With smaller pockets. And then when you go into like the Asian countries, then you have like your English 8-ball and with where you have a 9-foot table with rounded pockets and stuff.
Hay ball.
Hay ball. That's the 8-ball. they call it hay ball, but it's essentially 8-ball.
Yeah, it's 8-ball.
From what I've seen, but
Yep.
it's on a Chinese 9-foot table with rounded pockets.
Yep.
So I think that's also the big difference as well. I do agree with you that the United States pretty much has become a league-oriented type of pool scene, which is going to be dominated by your 3.5 by 7 foot tables. That's for your BCA, APA, VNEA, TAP, USAPL, ABCDEFG. Like it's just all over. There's not, Matchroom Pool is at least attempting to make 9-ball the game of pool, the pool of choice. Which anybody that participates in that, is going to be playing on 9-foot tables.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to go there because we'll be talking forever. But anyway, yeah, that's the way it was up until the 70s and into the 80s. The pool halls in America were all 9-foot tables, and that's why there were more good players. I
do at least want to attempt to address this next question about he doesn't seem to think now who's a follower of mine. So now thanks for being here. That bar table pool halls don't seem to be working either, and that's because you have to remember that the bar pool halls, their job is not to make money on pool. So
right.
if the bar pool hall is closing, it's not because of pool. It's because of whatever their primary source of income is supposed to be. The pool is supposed to be usually supplementary to the business. So if a bar table pool hall is closing down, it's because their primary source of income or their primary business model failed. I would say.
Yeah, you got to think about those pool halls. If they have a tournament on the 9-foot tables, they're going to get a 16-player turnout. They'll get 24 if they're lucky. Now go into one of those pool halls on a Wednesday night when there's leagues and count how many people are in there playing on the 7-foot tables. It's 4- and 5-person teams, 2 teams on every table. There's 100 people in there. And that's an opportunity to sell every one of them a couple of beers and a sandwich or a burger or something.
Yep.
And that's the problem. Now, what now said, I agree with. The United States needs a system where there are training academies or training facilities or something with 9-foot tables. And the only way to do that is to get money into it. And don't ask me how to do that. I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't know if it will ever happen because pool is not the United States sport of interest.
Right.
Football, basketball, and baseball are.
Yep. That's right. There's more kids trying to get on soccer teams than there are playing pool.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a sad situation, and it's reflected in the Moscone Cup because we put the best 5 American players we can find, and no knock on any of those players, but those are the best we have. And there aren't any more. There's no second tier that are as good. You go to the next tier, and they're all down into the middle 700s Fargo. So, I mean, that's all we have. That's a huge discussion that keeps happening on Matchroom Pool, so we don't want to go there. The next thing
Back to the International Open.
Back to the International Open. The next thing I wanted to say is, if you're here, thank you to everyone who came up to me and said hello. It's always a shock to me because I'm an introverted person and I don't really know what to say. But I had a dozen people at least come up to me and say, hey, you're shortstop Bob. You're short. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Oh, we love your videos. I love what you're doing for Straight Pool, blah, blah, blah. And then I even had a couple of other amateurs or pros say the same thing. Tony Robles, of course, and other people. Over dinner talking with these guys right here, Danny Berruti and Michael Yednak. And I was like, man, I'm getting tired of doing the Rack of the Week. It's really boring, and I'm repeating myself. And they're like, no, you have to keep doing them. I'm like, oh, crap. So I was like, I kind of have accidentally taken on this mantle. Now, I know that there's still orders of magnitude more people who watch Molina Mike and the other channels who are talking about 9-ball. I get it. I kind of created this little nook, this little corner of YouTube where we talk about straight pool. And I'm not opposed to talking about 9-ball. I'm going to talk about 9-ball. But I've got to keep doing my part to try and promote straight pool, because I think a lot of people have become interested in it and maybe started playing it because of my channel. So I wanted to say thank you to those people who came up to me, and I'm getting better at it all the time, and we'll keep it going as best we can. Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right. How did I do in the tournament? That's the first thing that I think most of you are going to want to know. And so I'm going to bring this up right here. Let me turn off this other one. These are my matches. There's other stuff I'll talk about here, but on the top left, Keller matches. I played Neils Fiejen my very first match. So this is the round robin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. I won 1 match and I lost 4. You know who Neils Fiejen is? Candela, I believe it was
Frank
France.
Candela?
Frank Candela, and he's from Europe somewhere, I don't know where. And then I played Petus Labutis, who is an 804 Fargo, young guy from, I don't remember where he's from, but in Europe. Up and coming top player. I was very nervous playing him. Hunter Lombardo is a player, nice guy from New York as well, from the Northeast. And I'll be talking more about him later. So I lost to those guys, and then I won my match against Sprangers. He's from Europe as well. He is a low 700 Fargo or a high 600, I don't know. He was a close match for me, but I was winning the match, and he quit. But the reason why he quit is someone stole his cue. So he had to buy a cue from one of the vendors, and he wasn't used to the tip and stuff, and he was just frustrated. So I was ahead like 70-20, and then he quit. But you can watch that match. I didn't play as well as I wanted to play any of those matches. And I will show, I'll probably show a rack or two from my play from one of these on the rack of the week and talk about it. But I wanted to mention, look at the scores. I got to Neils Fiejen. I got to 49 points against Neils Fiejen. Now, here's Neils Fiejen is the toughest player in my bracket, and he's a world champion and one of the best players in that tournament. And it's a race to 125, and I got 49 freaking points. I feel pretty damn good about that.
How many innings?
And I didn't play very well. Listen to this. After the first 10 innings, we were tied. 51 apiece. We were tied. Now, I think it was the first match of the tournament. I think he was having a little trouble getting into straight pool after playing the 9-ball event. You know, you can say all those things, but I had more than one opportunity at the table to shoot offensively, and I had more than one break shot where I cleared the rack and got on a break shot. I was nervous. But I wasn't, I've been nervous in tournaments before, you know, where you get the shakes like this. I wasn't nervous in that sense. This is what came home to me the most during this tournament is when you're playing a high run attempt by yourself on your home table, and it might be on a live stream, often during a rack, you'll have a choice to shoot 2 different shots. One shot is a hanger. It's super easy and you're not going to miss it, but it doesn't help the pattern very much. The other shot is a harder shot. And maybe it's not very hard, but it's a little bit harder, and you got to concentrate to make sure you don't miss it and get position right. But the harder shot is much better for the pattern. It opens up lanes to the pocket for something else. It's the right shot. Well, when I'm playing on my table on a live stream, I shoot the harder shot because I know it's the right shot. But now you have one of the few opportunities that you're going to get playing Neils Fiejen in a tournament, and the camera's recording, and you got either the easy shot or the harder shot. Which one do you choose? That's the nerves that can get to you. You're like, oh crap, I don't want to miss. Let me shoot the easier shot so at least I can keep shooting and not miss. And that's a bad decision. You have to shoot the right shot. And so I think most of the time I chose the right shot. And I made it. I made the ball, but my speed control's off and I didn't get good position. And so throughout the tournament, I was not able to get into the 3rd or 4th rack ever. And that frustrates me because the first tournament that I played in, 2 years ago, I draw Carlo Biato my first match. He misses the first shot, and I ran 72. So why didn't I run a 72 during this tournament? That's what I've got to deal with in my mind, and it's a mental thing. And I've been talking about it for the last month during all my live streams and my daily 50s. You can't play 10 innings and 9 of them you score less than 14 points. You have to, when you have an offensive opportunity, you have to make the most of it. And it may be really tough to get through that rack, but you've got to figure out a way. And that's one thing I watched in the matches that I spectated. And I'll talk about one later that Neils Fiejen did that was just incredible.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Then, which I imagine this is why you invited me on, as I listen to you talk about this stuff, and it makes me wonder.
Yes.
So you said against Neils Fiejen, you kind of choked because you weren't able to really string together a nice, decent run during your match, whereas against Carlo Biato, after he missed his first shot, you managed to run a 72, and that's 4, 5,
5 plus,
at least 5 plus racks.
Mm-hmm.
So both high quality players. I think both 800 Fargo rated players, if I'm not mistaken. But they're and I want to say, if I'm really not mistaken, Neils Fiejen is more of a veteran straight pool player than Carlo is.
Very much so.
Based on those conditions, and this is a hypothetical question I'm about to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
What if your opponent wasn't either of them?
Exactly. How many times have I said?
What do you think would have? What do you think would have happened? What did you do against Sprangers? In other words, you managed to win. What did you do against him?
I managed to win, and not only that, I managed to get ahead. And here's the thing: it's a psychological thing, and I'm not saying that I did the right thing, but I knew what Sprangers' Fargo rate was before we started playing, and when he played, his shot routine is not of the quality of a Neils Fiejen or even a Candela. And I could see watching him, I can win. I can beat this guy. And that gives you the confidence to just go play, relaxed. Okay. And that's the psychological thing I really need to learn and understand. And I'm considering hiring a mental coach or something because, and I've talked about it. Do what I say, not what I do. I've talked about it in my live streams. When you're playing in a tournament, and this is true for any tournament, 9-ball, 10-ball, whatever it is, your opponent is the balls on the table and yourself, not the other guy. Because when they are done shooting, they sit down and now it's your turn. Your opponent is your own mind. And so that's one thing I really got to figure out how to deal with because, and this is the point I made by showing these scores. I got over 50 in all of those matches, right? So even against Candela, who's a very good player, I got to 70 freaking points. And I didn't have any big runs, which means I'm scoring points and then playing safe. So I'm in the match, but I'm not playing. I didn't play any of those matches with the confidence that you see me sometimes playing with on my table here. So that's the point that I'm making there.
Okay, here's a question from now. He's saying, in tournament settings, would you guys say straight pool is more mental than any other billiards discipline? My answer is going to be no. I think it's practically all the same when it comes to competition. Period. Now, for Bob, I'm going to give you a little pushback on what you said because you're saying like the opponent is basically the balls on the table. Mm-hmm. Even if I have to present an extreme case to prove my point, it just shows that the point is still valid. Meaning that if your opponent was a 300 Fargo rated player, for example, someone that you probably know wouldn't be able to string 2 or 3 balls together.
Yeah.
Your opponent is not going to be the balls on the table. You see yourself, like you said, if you're faced with the 2 scenarios, the harder shot or the easier shot, if you know who your opponent is, then chances are you probably feel more comfortable taking on the harder shot, even if you do miss, because you have you have the probability of knowing that you're probably going to come back to the table.
Absolutely.
Versus if you were playing up against a 700 or 800 Fargo rated player in the same scenario, yeah, you might duck and play the safer shot because then you get to stay at the table, you get to grab more points. So that's what I say. Your opponent does factor into the match and factors into who your opponent is, factors into that. And I think if you take that applies to every game. It doesn't make it any
every
harder.
Game.
Whether it's 8 ball, 9 ball, 10 ball, straight pull, one pocket, it does not matter. That theory or that logic follows all the way through.
All right, well, let me address that. You're right. You're right and you're wrong. So I've had this in leagues and in tournaments. Like years ago, I used to play 2 or 3 9-ball tournaments every week. Local tournaments with 12, 16, 20 players, whatever. And, you know who all the other players are. And when I would draw certain players, I'm not worried. I know I'm going to win. It's a race to 4, a race to 5. And I'm like, we're playing 9-ball. And it's a really tough shot on the 2 with questionable position on the 3. And I just go for something stupid like a cross bank, try to break him out. Because I know if I'm going to get back, like you said, I know I'm going to get back to the table. I don't worry about it. Now, if it gets down and there's 3 balls left and I don't have a good shot, then I'll play a safety and they usually sell out and I win. So in that respect, yeah, if you're that much more skilled, you can control the game. And so you're not so worried about it. But I'll say this. So that's true for all amateur levels. But if you want to be a pro or a better player or an over 700 player, you don't adopt that attitude. You have to change that attitude. And I remember, I think it was in Mosconi's book, Willie Mosconi's book, or somebody, maybe it was Babe Pranfield's book, somebody's book, where they tell an anecdote about that. And they say, look, if you want to be a good player, you have to adopt the attitude that if you're playing your mother and they have 1, you're going to do your damnedest to make sure they don't get to 2. That's the attitude. You have to be a killer in that sense. And I think all the good pros, 750 and up, have that attitude. And when you get to that level, it is about the balls on the table. Because here's why. You come to the table and like the same scenario, you're playing 9-ball, you got a long, tough shot on the 2 with questionable position on the 3. Now you know this is it. I'm either going to run out here or I have to play a lockup safe, because if I don't do one of those things, I probably won't win this game. Okay? So now it's execution. Yeah, that's a tough shot, but I practiced it. So let me take my time and go through my routine and put in my best effort and make that damn ball, because this is going to be my chance. And so I'm just saying that's the attitude that you have to have, I think, if you want to play at that level. The thing that I was trying to adopt before I went to the tournament and during the tournament was trying to convince my subconscious that I can compete at that level. And so I should go to something else. I should show you something else that I was going to. Let me bring this other one up.
Let me ask you a question while you're prepping though.
Go ahead.
What does what you just said mean? That I can compete at that level. What does that mean?
What it means is this. Let's take an example. For any of these guys that I played, I had opportunities where they literally missed a shot. There might have been 8 or 9 balls on the table, and I ran those balls, and I got on a break shot and broke the next rack, but I did not clear the next rack. Now, on my home table during a daily 50 or live stream, you'll see me clear the second rack and then the third rack quite often. But I didn't do it in this tournament. It's a confidence thing, and it's a belief in yourself. Like I said, I was choosing the correct shot, but not getting the correct position. You have to have the confidence and the belief in yourself that you're not only you're going to make the ball, but you got the speed control of the table down, and you're going to get the position too. I don't know how better to explain it than that.
Well, let me ask you this then, because you said there were 48 players?
42.
42 players.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that you did go into the tournament with some sort of expectation.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's also fair to say that your expectation is not to be on the bottom.
Correct.
And your expectation is also not to be the winner.
Yeah, there's no way I was going to win, of course.
Right? So when we're talking about, you want to be able to compete, can you translate being able to compete in relation to your expectation? Amongst the field of players. So like I do this when I play at like the Texas Open here as to what my expectations are. And I have three. I always try to run off of three. The first one is don't go 2 and out. Don't lose your first 2 matches. The second one is make it to day 2. And then or actually there's 4. There's 4 expectations. Don't go 2 and out, make it to day 2, make it into the money, win the damn thing. But and if I at least accomplish one of those things, I'm usually pretty happy with my performance.
So my goal was to have a 50-ball run at least in a couple of matches, and I didn't do that.
Okay.
As you know, my goal leading up to the tournament was to run 50 balls in the daily 50 every day, and I was not happy with my performance there. I don't feel like I was as ready as I wanted to be. I made a couple of positive changes a month before going, and I just never felt like I had it totally imprinted.
Yeah, and Solerdale's comment here. Weren't you playing on 4 1/4 inch pockets?
No, somebody said they were going to be 4 1/4, but they weren't. They were 4 1/2.
Okay.
But they were on the tight end of 4 1/2. 2 balls just barely fit between the points.
Okay.
I think the tables played beautifully. I think they were perfect for straight pool. The high run, you can see on what's on the screen right now, the high run of the event was 152 by Max Lechner. And in Q Masters, those were also diamonds with 4 1/2. But for some reason, I think they played a little bit easier. And the high runs at Q Masters were higher. 2 years ago, Filler and Zielinski both ran over 200. And last year, there were a couple players that ran into the 160, 170 range. And there were more runs over 100. So the tables were tough. So, that could have had something to do with it too. But you asked my expectations. I don't expect to win playing Neils Fiejen, but I would love to have put together a 50-plus ball run. And the thing is, I did have the opportunity to do so. Now, Neils also had the opportunity to run 50 balls in the beginning, and he didn't. Now, my expectation playing Hunter Lombardo and Candela, who are both closer to my skill level, is that I have a chance to win and I should get over 100 points. And so I played subpar in those matches, I feel. Okay. Labutis is an 804, and I was hero worshiping a young guy instead of trying to play my game. So I didn't play very well against Labutis. And I actually think I affected him. He missed a few shots that you would never expect him to win. So Neils Fiejen and Labutis both did the same thing. We were close to tie scores in both games with Fiejen and Labutis, around 50-ish. And both of them took a break, went to the restroom and came back. And when they came back, they were a different player. And it was a different game from then on out. I was returning safeties, and I didn't have much of a chance to score points after that. So that's how it went.
Okay.
Let me show you this. I call this performance. On Digital Pool, they've got a chart ranking all 42 players, but I'm just showing myself in the first and second. Mario, he won. Max Lechner took second. Okay. So they have a column called skill level, and then they have effective rating. Effective rating is what your Fargo would be based on your performance in the tournament. Okay? So Max and Mario both performed better than their Fargo. And as you know, the Fargo is based on 9-ball and 10-ball, not straight pool. So this isn't really apples to apples, but that's what they put in. And then there's a 2 par, which is how did you do? What was your performance in the tournament compared to what your Fargo suggests it should be? So both of them played above par. Okay. Mario deserved to win, but I'll tell you what, if you look at all the matches in the tournament, in my opinion, Max Lechner played better. He just happened to lose the finals. But Mario played almost 10% above par. Max played 40% above par. I think Max put in a better tournament. He really did. And somebody earlier in the chat said that even they weren't sure how Mario got into the final 16 because he didn't do all that well during the round robins. But Mario still deserved to win. He played great. And we're going to look at their scores in a minute. But now look at me. 662 Fargo. My effective rating in the straight pool tournament was 706. 44% above par. And that is even though, I'm trying to move this out of the way. Oops, I got too much other stuff there. 44% above par, even though those are my scores, and I lost 4 games, right? So I think, so for that reason, I'm taking this tournament as a positive. I feel like my eyes were wider open and I was seeing things more realistically. And I actually played pretty well the times that I did for the racks that I played. I did well. I played smart. I played good patterns, open balls with insurance, and I played well. Now, the point I want to make about this is that 662 Fargo, that's based on 8-ball leagues on 7-foot tables. 95% of that Fargo. When I came back to pool in 2019, I joined some leagues, and for about 3 years, I played 8-pool leagues, 8-ball on 7-foot tables, and went to Vegas a couple of times. And I won a seniors event. I got a couple of trophies here from the BCA or whatever event it was in Vegas. And that's what that Fargo is based on. And when I played leagues, 8-ball leagues on 7-foot tables in Denver, I didn't sandbag, but I was not playing my best game during league nights. I wasn't. And still I got a 662 Fargo. So I think the 706 is probably closer to what my true Fargo is. Maybe 699 or 695. The problem is there are no 9-ball tournaments for me to play. There's no 9-ball, 10-ball tournaments for me to play to find out.
So I have a question based on what you
said.
Go
ahead. Give it to me.
The statement you said was you didn't sandbag, but you didn't play your best.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And then I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is, and I'm going to have a follow-up question. After.
All right. So I'm playing 8-ball, right? And I break the rack. If I'm playing a match that really matters, a race that really matters, harder opponent, if I don't see a clear pattern to run the rack, I'm going to choose a suit and play a safe, right? But if I'm playing an opponent in a league match, we're playing one game, and they're a 400 Fargo, I'm going to go for the run out. Screw it. Who cares? And sometimes they win those games, but regardless, they get to shoot and they get to pocket some of their balls. Whereas if I'm playing a harder opponent, I'm going to play safe. That's what I mean.
So, and I kind of figured that was going to be your answer.
Okay.
So my follow-up question, isn't that just another form of sandbagging? Okay,
I admit it. It is. Yeah. but the difference is the difference is I'm not doing it for the purpose of keeping my Fargo down. I'm only doing it because I don't care. And I'm doing it because I want the other person to have fun on their league night. I don't need to beat everybody. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does. I figured as much, but it's just that whole thing. Like when you hear the term sandbagging, what exactly does that mean?
What does it mean?
I think the universal answer is holding back skill, not playing to the skill of your potential. But I think but not playing to the potential of your own skill would also include just aggressively going for everything when you know that in a real environment you wouldn't.
You would play safe, yeah.
So I was just curious.
Yeah. I remember one league night, my opponent broke the balls, and it was a nice older lady who was probably an APA 3, right? And it was her break. She broke the balls in 8-ball. And literally all the solids took places in front of the pockets. And everything was wide open. And the cue ball's in the middle of the table. And I looked at the table, and like in 2 seconds, I saw the pattern. It was like the easiest stop shot pattern to clear the table. And she's looking at the table and looking at me, and I could tell that she was anticipating that she might get a shot. She was hopeful. And I didn't want to just trash her. So I looked at her, and I wanted to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. And so I looked at her, and I said, I'm going to run out. You know that, right? And she goes, I know, you probably are. And I was like, no, I'm going to run out. And I said, would you like to know why? And she said, yeah. And so I walked over next to her, and I gave her an 8-ball lesson. I said, start at the 8-ball. Which suit do you think you would take? Oh, the stripes are probably, the solids are more wide open. And I gave her a lesson. I said, here's why, and here's the order I'm going to shoot the balls in, and here's why. And she appreciated that. And then I ran out. but after that, I just was like, sometimes you just want to let the other person have a couple shots.
I get it. I'm very much on semantics and stuff, and that's why when I hear people say what they say, that's why the first question I always usually respond to is, well, what does that mean? And like I've already asked you, what do you mean by compete? What does this mean and stuff? Yeah. And I have an idea of what your answers are going to be, and I'm like, okay, let me throw you a little curveball and say, well, what about this? Then does the same answer apply, or is it a little bit different?
I love that. I want to answer ETRFG's question, because somebody else mentioned this too a month ago. Why not do a daily 500? Because if you say daily 50, then that's goal setting, and it limits you to that. Okay, here's why. Number one, right now I am not able to run 100 every day. It would take 6 hours, and I might not be able to do it. So it's counterproductive. The reason why I said daily 50 is because I believe and I know that if I apply myself, I can run 50. It's not easy. You watch my daily 50 videos, there's a lot of them where I play for 2 hours and I do not run 50. And then I go on later on that night and do it again, and then I get my 50. So the reason why it's daily 50, I don't think I'm limiting myself. It's because that's my skill level. When I've talked about this before, I charted a lot of the pros, and when they're doing solo high run attempts, their average runs, their BPI is from like 30 to 60, probably higher, 40 to 60. So they have innings where they only run 10 balls or 2 balls or 15 balls. It's just that those innings don't happen very often. They have a lot more 28s and 42s, which means those 28s and 42s, a good percentage of those turn into 80 balls and 100 balls and 150 ball runs. So that's the difference. And that's why it doesn't make sense for me to say daily 100, because I'm just not going to run 100 every day. Now I want to get to the point where I do. John Schmidt, as an example, of the pros that I surveyed, John Schmidt's average BPI over a week of play was higher than all the rest. His was in 90. That is incredible. Incredible. An average of 90. And so maybe 10% or less of his run attempts end less than 14. 10%. Mine is like 70% less than 14. And the other pros are closer to 30% less than 14. John's is 10. And then when he gets going, he'll run 250 and 300 more often than the other pros. So that's just incredible. But I want to get to the now. So all of those pros, even if their average BPI is 40 to 50, within a 2 to 3 hour period, they will run 100 balls, right? I'm not there yet. I want to get there. For me, it's 2 to 3 hours to run 50. And so I need to improve things so I can get there. And I will, I look forward to the day that I can do a live stream where I call the daily 50 or daily 100. I really do. I'd like to get there, but I'm not there yet. That's why I don't do it. And I've had several people say, in fact, Tony Robles at this tournament came up to me and he said the same thing. He said, I don't think of myself that way, but they said, yeah, when it comes to straight pool, Bob, you're a pro. That's what they've said. So I really appreciate people saying that. I don't think they're just being kind, but it's, again, that's part of the psychological thing that I need to work with a mental counselor to get it in my head. Yeah, you do play straight pool that good. And you need to have that confidence every time you play.
So here's an interesting question that I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Scottster is asking here.
Okay.
How many 100-ball runners are in the USA that you think of? And my piggyback off of that is based on what you just said. I know you've ran over 100 balls. I think your best is 152.
151.
Right? 151. Yep. But does that make you a 100-ball runner?
The 151 alone, I don't think does. Here's why. My very first run, I think, was 113. Mm-hmm. And I did not run 100 again for at least 15 years. Right? When I came back to pool in 2019, I had 7 runs over 100. So in the last 5 years, I've added enough that today I have 24 runs over 100. So I believe that I am a 100-ball runner now. Some people might say, no, you're not a 100-ball runner unless if you can do it in one session on demand. And I can't do that. So by that definition, I'm not a 100-ball runner. Other people's definition, if you run 100 once, you're a 100-ball runner. So there's no official way of defining it. But I think a 100-ball runner is someone who hasn't just done it once and gotten lucky. They can repeat it like once a month, let's say. I think
that's fair. And now, so based on that, how many would you say are in the United States? Because I would imagine that number is probably unfathomable, because there's probably a lot of, like, I use the term ghost runner, meaning that there are probably 100-ball runners that nobody's ever heard of, because they just kind of keep to themselves. They don't play tournaments or do whatever.
There's a lot of players in the United States that are high 600, low 700 Fargo. You know, they don't play pro tournaments. They're really good amateurs, but they never have played straight pool in their life. So they have the skill to run 100. They just have never tried. Nick DeLeon is a fantastic 9-ball player. He's one of the best players in Phoenix. He's like a 720 Fargo, but he's hardly played any straight pool. I think he's run 100. If he hasn't, he will soon. He's playing the straight pool league now. But that's the reason why you can't answer that question, is because they all play 9-ball. They don't play straight pool. You can go to Straight Pool Fanatics. They have a pinned post on the Straight Pool Fanatics on Facebook. There's a spreadsheet that they maintain with confirmed high runs, either from witnesses or video. Yep. And they group them.
I'm in that list with my 82.
There you go. So they have groups, people who have run over 50, over 100, over 200, 300, 400, and so on. So the list gets really small at the top. So I've run over 100, and I don't know how many people are. There's got to be 50 players that have run over 100 on that list, but that's worldwide. So I don't know. There's probably 100 players in the United States who can run 100, but have never tried, and most of them haven't tried. So real hard question to answer. My goal is to get into the 200 club, because when you look at that list, I don't know how many there are. I should go count. I should go find out. But there's less than 100 people who have run over 200, and I want to be on that list. That's my goal. That's why I'm doing all this. All right, let's talk about some more stuff.
All right.
Let's see. So I talked about that. I talked about high runs. This is on the bottom of what you're looking at right now is Mario and Max. They both had a 7-2 record in the tournament. Obviously, Mario won more matches in the final 16, and Max won more matches during the round robin. But they both ended up with a 7-2 record. 78% win rate, identical. Look at the balls. Mario pocketed 1,092 and gave up 793, whereas Max pocketed 1,143 balls in the tournament and gave up 629. This is why I say I think Max played better than Mario overall during the tournament. He just happened to lose the finals. If you watch those matches, a lot of people have the impression that the pros get up and run 50 to 100 every single time they get up to the table. It's not true. A lot of those matches go 10 innings, even 20 or 30 innings. There's safety exchanges. They have problems. And that's the thing that really came home to me during my matches. And when I was watching the other matches, those guys make the same exact mistakes that I make for the same reasons. They just make fewer of them. And that's why I say I think I can compete. And so we'll get into that right now. Let me see, what else do I have to say? Let's talk about that right now. I'm going to mark some of the other things that I wanted to talk about.
Now, you're showing 5 of your matches. Didn't you have 10?
No, 5 matches. There's a group. There were 7 groups of 6 players. So there was me and 5 other guys in my group. So I had 5 matches.
So in other words, your 5 matches didn't graduate you to the next round?
No. So there was 7 groups of 6. Mm-hmm. So of each of the 7 groups, the top 2 players automatically made it into the final 16 single elimination tournament. So you had to win. Usually the players who made it in went 5-0 or 4-1 in their round robin. Okay. And then there were 2 wild cards to make a 16. So out of the remaining players, they chose the player with the highest win-loss record. And then if there was a tie there, they chose the players who made the most balls and gave up the fewest balls to their opponents.
Okay.
So that's how they got to the 16. So in order to win, in order to advance, I would have had to win at least 3 of my matches. Now, I won 1, and I had a chance. I'm not saying I had a chance. If I played better, it's well within the realm of possibility for me to beat Lombardo or Candela. Labutus and Fiejen, I think I need an act of God, but I might have had to have a really good run to beat one of them. But the other matches, I could have competed had I played better. Not saying I would have won, but I could have gotten closer. Okay, so that answers that question. All right. So let me just do these in random order. Let's take a look at these because these are going to be interesting for you guys to look at. I played a bank. I'm going to play a video here. Let me see. Let me got to bring this up. Let me find it. I think this is going to be a video, so I got to bring this up. Safety PS is what I called it. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. All right. And let me turn. Oh wait. Hold on. Let me hit pause on this video. Can you guys still? I can't do that. I want to turn the sound down because did you hear the sound just now, Chris, on that video?
I don't know if I'm going to hear it in our meeting room. The stream might have heard it. Let me check.
Okay, I'm playing it right now. Can you hear the background noise in the video?
I cannot.
Okay. Let me go to the live stream real quick and turn it up. See if I can see. Okay, it's kind of distracting for me. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that off. Let's see if I turn this off.
Yeah, I don't hear even on the stream, I don't hear the audio from the video.
Okay, I got it now. Oop. Okay, I got it set up now. All right, let's go back to here. I wanted to get that background noise off because I thought that was very distracting. I want to show you, this is my match with Pijus Labutis. So he's a 804 Fargo. Now, this is the result of my opening break shot. So I butchered the break shot. I hit it too fat. So he has a choice of the 2 or the 7. So he makes the 2 ball, and he's 90% of his effort is to pocket the ball. He's not going to risk position. He's not going to miss the ball and get position. So it just turned out that he got a little unlucky and he didn't get a shot, right? So he needs to play safe. And let me advance it so we don't wait because he studies it for a while. So he ends up brushing the 13 and bringing the cue ball back up where it is because there's no shot up there. But guess what? He hit a little bit too hard. So what does Bob do when he comes to the table? What do you guys think I'm going to do?
You're going to cut the 7 in the bottom left.
It's a tough shot, right? And I'm playing this guy and I'm nervous. But I just do my routine. And again, I'm trying to make the ball, and I'm not too worried about position. Make the ball, right? And I missed it, but, oh, I made it. Okay? So I'm like, whew. Now you're thinking, oh, crap, I got to keep shooting. So I'm going to shoot the 5, and let me advance this because I take my time. So I'm running into balls.
I think you were kind of unfortunate that you didn't run into anything.
Yes, I agree.
It looked like you were supposed to run into the 9 ball, but you managed to avoid it.
Exactly. So I'm right now things are still iffy. There's a big cluster and only a few open balls. But I've faced this situation a million times. I know what to do, right? So I can shoot the 7 in the side. So let me do that. I'm just kind of advancing it so we don't take so long to watch me play. Okay. And I hit that nervously. Did you see that? The ball barely went in the side. Now I'm going to shoot the 8 because I'm either going to hit the bottom of the 13 and have a shot on the 9, or I'm going to miss the 13 and hit the 1, and I might get a few balls loose and also have a shot on the 9. That's my thought process. And instead, this is what happens. Okay. This is an example. When you watch the other pros, Neils Fiejen, Mario He, Max Lechner, Thorsten Homan, I'm facing a difficult spot. There's a big cluster. This is one of the few opportunities I'm going to have during this match to score some points. I'd like to score some points here, even if it's just 28 points. Instead, I scored 3. Now I got to play safe. So that's the difference at this level of straight pool, at least where I'm at. I don't have a good shot. I'm going to play safe, but I'm frustrated that I'm not able to run more balls because I know I'm capable of doing that. Okay, so let's keep going. So what am I going to do? I've got a shot at the stripe on the top of the rack. Oh, and I've actually got my pen working, I think. Yeah. So I can shoot this ball this way, and I can park the cue ball on the top of the rack. Now, I played this well because I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to just play a stop shot because if I do, Pijus is going to have a bank shot on this 11 with position on the 9, and I don't want to leave that. So I'm thinking I can't just play safe. I got to bury the cue ball right in there between the 5 and the 15, right in there tight. Okay? And I hit it good. He cannot see the 11 to bank it, right? He's hooked. The only shot he has is a bank shot on the 8, and that's super tough, low percentage. So I'm feeling okay, even though I'm frustrated that I wasn't able to run balls. I'm feeling okay. Now, what do you think Pijus does? Takes an intentional foul. That's all he can do. He has no safety. Because I've got a ball on each side rail. There's nowhere on the table he can put the ball that doesn't leave me a shot. So he takes an intentional foul. So here's the thing. The pros aren't going to leave you many shots. You've got to win a shot through a safety battle. Now, he did the smart thing, and this is a teaser, because he gave me the bank shot that I didn't want to leave him. Now, I can't leave him a shot because he's going to bank it, right? So what can I do? I can take an intentional foul and put the cue ball right back where it was. So we're going to do that back and forth. He's going to try and nudge something loose so I can't bury him, and it's going to be tougher. The best case scenario result of this, he took a foul first. The best case scenario is he's going to take the third foul, lose 15, re-rack the balls, and then, shoot the opening safety break shot again. What I'm trying to express is how hard it is to get a shot from a pro. Okay. So I go play all that through in my mind, and I decide I got to take the bank shot. I didn't want to leave it to him. I should make him not want to leave that to me. I'm better on diamonds, baking balls on diamonds, than I am on my home table. So I'm very confident that I can make this break shot and control the cue ball. And now I have not one but two balls to play position on right down here. I can hold the cue ball below the rack. Okay, so now I'm saying to myself, you just got through a tough spot, earned an opportunity, now run some damn balls. That's what I'm thinking to myself. How many times have I shot this shot? Shoot the 10, run into the bottom of the balls, 9 balls my insurance. I'm going to clear this rack and run and get there. And look what happens. It's still tough. I've got 3 balls still clustered, and I'm thinking to myself, dang it, why couldn't I get those balls open? Not only that, not only is there still a cluster of 3, now this ball's trapped. So now I got to, maybe use the 9 to get position on the 1, and then either leave this ball as my break ball or shoot it and get a break ball somewhere else. In other words, I still got a lot of work to do. And I'm elevated over this ball to shoot the 13. So I'm trying to play the cue ball back over here because I can pocket the 5 from here. I'm trying to get the cue ball over here. But I'm elevated over those 3, and I can't do it. And even if I didn't get a shot on the 5, I would probably have a shot on this ball or a shot on the ball up table. So things are tough, and I'm trying to, and on top of that, I'm nervous. I'm playing an 8/4 Fargo. Watch the shot I shoot here. It's a good shot. I'm going to shoot that ball up table because it's the only shot I got. I can't play safe. I've got to shoot it. I don't want to play a stop shot because then I have to turn around and play a long shot on this stripe with questionable position. So I'm going to draw the cue ball all the way back down for the 9. Bazinga! Now I'm feeling good. I'm like, yeah, you can play. Stop being so freaking nervous. Play. Doesn't matter who you're playing the balls. Now, if this is the question. Let me get back over there. If I'm playing on my home table, I've got to cut. There's a pretty severe cut, right? But I'm going to shoot this with low because I know that I can hit the 1 ball softly, just directly off this thin cut shot. I might just knock the 1 ball a little bit, or I might knock it up table. I don't care. I want to do this because then I've got a shot on the 5. Once the 5's clear, both of these balls go here, and I use this as a break shot. Or I might have an opportunity to bump one of these balls over for a better break shot, right? That's the correct shot. I don't shoot it because I'm nervous. Instead, I roll forward because I say to myself, I'm either going to hit the 8 and get a shot, or I'm going to go around the 8 and get a shot. But it's the wrong shot. I'm playing that shot because position is safer. I don't have to do as much to control the cue ball. Okay? So I come out okay. I have a shot on the 1, and I can bump these balls. And I'm going to hit the 15 full, bump the 5 over to make a break shot, and I'll have a shot on this ball this way or the 8 ball up this way. What happens? This. This is what I'm saying. When you're faced with difficult situations, you still got to get through them if you're going to compete at this level. You've got to play with the confidence to shoot the right shot and execute it well. And I didn't do it when I cut the 9, and I didn't do it on the 1 ball. And now your opponent is getting filled with confidence because they're watching you screw up. So I still have a shot. I can elevate and shoot the 8 ball in the corner and just play a stop shot. From there, I'll have the shot on the 5, and then I can use this stripe that's on the bottom rail as a below the rack break shot. So that's all low percentage stuff. It's possible. And,
So I have a question. Again, listening to you talk.
So, yeah, and watch me shoot this because I'm going to miss. Go ahead.
barely missed it.
Yeah.
So my question is, the answer is, I think the answer I believe you're going to give me is easier said than done, and that is why during this your explanation of poor performance, quote unquote, was I'm nervous playing an 800 Fargo rated player and everything else, and never once did I really hear you say, but I'm still at the table. So that's all that matters. Right. So isn't that just the mental part of it, where the competitive side of you is saying, like, you know, you're fighting for every inch and look at this one hard shot after another. And never once it sounds like you're not saying to yourself, hey, I'm still at the table. Let's see what I can do next.
Correct. I need it. It needs to be, the mental thought process going on in my head needs to be turned around to positivity. Even though it's difficult, who cares? You're absolutely right. And I've said that before I went to the tournament, that I need to work on my mental game, and I've got some books here, but I think I need a coach too. I think I can compete with these guys. I'm not saying I'm going to win the tournament. I can compete if I get my head right. I know that the pro, and I've had my head right in the past. What I mean is this. 20 years ago, I played 2 to 3 9-ball tournaments a week on 9-foot tables against good players. And after a lot of experience and getting some wins under my belt, you get this psychological attitude. You walk in the door and you look at the other guys who've showed up for the tournament and you're like, yeah, I'm going to win this one. Now that sounds really damn arrogant, right? It really does, because there's good players. There's run-out players in this room. But 20 years ago, I'm filled with confidence. And I don't give a crap who I'm playing. And I don't give a crap that they just broke and ran the first 2 racks and I'm down 0-2 in a race to 5. I'm still going to win. I won a lot of 9-ball tournaments back in the day. I lost tournaments as well. But what I'm saying is, I had that mental attitude back then without understanding that that's what it was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it. Right. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yep. Yeah. Whereas today, I'm too much in my head because I've done all this work on fundamentals and all this other strategy and all this other stuff. And so now I've got to get to I think the best way to get there, apart from meditation and other exercises that these mental training books can show you, is to play tournaments, get in competition more often. And 20 years ago, I could play 2 or 3 tournaments a week. Today, there are no tournaments for me to play. They're all limited to 600 and under Fargo or teams.
Yeah, so the terminology I think you're really talking about here is desensitizing yourself really here, because the more tournaments you put yourself in, the more times the hope and the expectation would be the more times you're thinking negatively, but then eventually that negativity just fades away. Yeah. And then now you're just playing, and that's typically what the exposure to higher level play and everything else can do. That's why I said it's easier said than done. To where it's just like, hey, just be happy that you're still back at the table. You made the ball and have given yourself an opportunity to still convert, right? To where it's either make a ball or just try to play some sort of safety, right. Both of which have one positive result and one negative result. You're always hoping for the positive result, but I mean, you know, if you never got the negative result, you'd be the number 1 player in the world, right?
Yeah, and that dovetails with what I said earlier. I've got examples here we'll look at where the pros, they make the same mistakes. Now they're approaching it with a positive attitude. They know what they need to do to execute the shot, but it's a tough shot. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I think there's a fatalism to playing well. It's an arrogance. You have to have so much confidence that it borders on arrogance. And we see that we can name some names that we know of pros who come off as very arrogant, but they're all confident, even if they aren't displaying that arrogance. It's a confidence, but it's also a One guy that I learned a lot from in Denver, I'll name him, Chris McDaniel, top player in Denver. He said, you have to have an attitude that says, when it's my turn at the table, I accept all outcomes.
Yeah.
That gives you the freedom to just get out there and do it. Just do what you're going to do. And if you miss or you don't get position, you just accept it. You don't get negative about it. It just is a thing that happens. But it gives you the freedom to just get out there and perform to the best of your ability. Okay. So I wanted to show that. Now I'm going to piggyback with that with this next one, which is the same opponent during the same match. And let's see. Let me find it right here. Now this is just a bunch of shots. So the first one is the safety that you've already seen, right? Mm-hmm. So, oops, yeah, I've got a bunch of them in here. So P just wanted the cue ball to stop probably like here, because I would not have had a shot from there. But instead, the cue ball stopped here and gave me a shot on the 7. So he made a mistake. 805 Fargo made a mistake. There you go. Let's watch another one. So here's the next mistake. Here's it come. I edited these right tight together. Oh, that's this one. Yeah, we already seen that. Okay. Later in the match, not far in the next rack even, he shot a breakout shot, and this is what he had. It's a tough shot, 7 in the side. But if he puts the 7 in the side down, he's got break balls. He's got options. He can clear this table, right? So here's an 805 Fargo shooting the shot. How many times during my live streams have you seen me miss a shot in that fashion? Everybody misses. You can't, and you can't get negative about it. Here's another one. Real tough rack, and he got through it. This is his break ball. Thin cut in the side, and he wants to go side rail, bottom rail, and come into the rack from the bottom, right? Same thing. How many times have you seen that? Seen me do that during a live stream? My point is, we put the pros on a pedestal, and we shouldn't. If you want to compete with them, they can't be on that pedestal. They just can't. So you got to see them as the human beings they are. They're the same as you. I want to get over here. See this?
I think it's pretty clear that the lesson on that is that the pros make the same mistakes amateurs do. Mm-hmm. They just do it less often.
Less often. They definitely do it less often. Yep. And so I don't quite have the image, but after this safety, the cue ball came over here, and the 1 ball came over here. The only shot I had, I couldn't see the 1. The only shot I had is to shoot the 8 in the corner and run into these balls. And I made the 8 and I ran the rack. So I might feature this rack in a rack of the week or something, but I did do some good. I mean, I scored 49, or I scored a 53 against Labutis, I think. But okay, the next mistake he made was, that's not a mistake, that's a safety. So the point is, the point I'm making with this one is, this is that same rack. He still didn't clear the rack. He had an opportunity to, and he messed it up and had to play safe. This safety battle went on a few innings. Here's another shot. This is looking pretty good, right? He's got the three ball is a break ball. This is a standard rack. That's an 805 Fargo, folks. When we look at, if you watch the finals between Mario He and Max Lechner, I'll bring up the score sheet later. Most of the turnovers were from missed shots, not from one player winning a safety battle. It happens. Okay. What else? What else do I got? I got a few more things. I got a bunch more, as a matter of fact. Oops, I want to do this. This is a cool shot that I want to show you guys. And this is an example of things not working out for me. This is the end of a rack. It was a difficult rack, but I got there. This is a terrible key ball, but I'm going to make it work. I'm just going to go to the bottom rail and straight up for my break shot. And I don't hit it hard enough. So that's the mistake. But I hit it too soft. Yeah, I had right English to get the correct angle off the bottom rail, which killed the speed. So I didn't get the cue ball far enough. I need the cue ball up here, so I've got a good angle to break the rack. So let's advance this. Show me shoot the break shot. So I know how to shoot this break shot. It's a shallow angle. You got to come across the top of the balls. Hit it hard, cue ball across the top of the balls to the side rail. Hopefully you're going to knock a ball loose over here and get a shot. Right? We've seen me do this on my live streams plenty of times. Here's the result. Barely got a ball loose. The cue ball didn't come anywhere near the rail. I had a very shallow angle. But here, I shoot a pro shot here. Obviously, most players are going to play safe. What are your chances to get through the rack? I look at it and I decide I ain't playing safe.
Hail Mary, pocket the 6 in the corner, cue ball 4 rails around, contacts the 1 or the 12, whatever the...
6 rails. 6 rails to here for a low angle on this ball to break the rack.
I would have thought you'd have came around and ran into the rack.
Nope. I want to use the 8 ball as a re-break ball. These tables are fast, but they're not that fast. So I didn't get there.
What a shot, though.
This is the type of thing that frustrated me. I mean, if I didn't know the speed, if I hit it hard enough, that cue ball was on a track to come here and I'd have a perfect re-break shot. Instead, now I've got to try and make the 8 and run into the rack from the bottom, which, as you know, is a low percentage re-break shot. And I miscue.
Miscued.
So, I mean...
And what a safety!
Yeah, look at my safety. Look at that safety. So that began a safety battle. Let's see. What else? Let me show you this one. This one's on more of a positive note. I think you guys will like this. I think I put it over here. Where is it? Safety battle. Here we go. This is during my first match with Neils Fiejen. Now, I'm proud of this. Neils Fiejen has a low percentage break shot. Okay?
Is this 2 rails under the rack?
Just one, because he had a...
rail. Okay.
Right. So he decides to play safe here. Because shooting the 13, he can't get anywhere, so he's got to shoot safe. So I'm going to advance this to his safety. He studies it. Because he doesn't want to leave a shot on the 13, so he's just going below the rack. Wants to put the cue ball on the bottom rail. And one point I'll make about that is most players are going to play that safety off from the 15. He played it off the 7 to further tie those up. So I think that's a pro decision. However, I'm coming to the table and I'm literally saying to myself, he just screwed up. You see why? The 7, 8, this row of 4 balls are lined up. This ball's going to go this way. The head ball's going to go this way. None of these balls are going to be disturbed. And I can slide the cue ball over here and park it tight up in these balls. The reason why that's a good safety, I'm going to get balls open all over the place. That's what you want when you want to play safe. You want balls open in front of pockets so that your opponent has no real estate to put the cue ball that doesn't leave you a shot. So I'm coming to the table saying, and he just screwed up. And I study it first, but then I shoot it like this. So this is, you do this in one pocket a lot too. You're really controlling the cue ball. So the cue ball gets wedged in between 2 balls, so you leave nothing. So now I've got the 1 ball open to the bottom corner. I got this stripe open to the top corner. The 4 ball is open to the bottom left, if you see that. So now what are you going to do if you're Neils Fiejen? How are you going to not leave me a shot? Well, he's a world champion for a good reason. Let me advance. He studies it for a while, and this is the shot he has to play, leaned out over the table. He just tickled that 15 to leave me nothing, and I'm like, crap. Why couldn't you leave me something? I don't even have a shot on this ball up into the corner past the stripe. I'm like, but I do have essentially the same shot. Let me advance this so we don't watch me study it. Or maybe I shoot it real quick. I shoot that solid and put the cue ball back in the same spot and open up a couple more balls. I mean, Neils has to be feeling the heat, right? Now I got a ball open to the upper left corner. Well, kind of. Not really, because it went too close to the rail. But this 5 ball is open to the side pocket. So, and the 4 ball is now open to a couple other pockets. So I've got him in a pickle, right? What's he going to do? Let me advance it because I'm so proud of this safety battle. It went on 5 innings. So he studies it looks at a lot of different possibilities. Intentional foul. And he's got to hit his mark, right? He can't go too far because he's going to sell out the 5 in the side. He's got to go far enough to not sell out the 4. I probably wouldn't shoot the 4, but what am I going to do here? Turn around and take another intentional and just leave the cue ball there? I don't know. I forget what I do. I might shoot the 2 ball and try and park the cue ball against the rack where I don't leave a shot on the 5. He put me in a tough spot. Now, again, we can take the intentionals. He's going to take the 3rd intentional first, lose 15 points, and then re-break. So I'm trying to win a shot from the safety battle. So is he.
So why does the opponent get to make the 3rd foul?
Okay, so Neils,
but then break.
Here's the thing. Neils took the 1st intentional foul. So if I take one behind him, he takes a 2nd, I take a 2nd. The player that takes the 3rd loses 15 points, and then the balls are re-racked. And the person who took the 3rd foul plays the opening break shot safety.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense.
So it continues from there. Now, he might hit it bad and leave me a shot, but more often than not, he's going to play a good shot, and then we'll be in a safety battle again. Right. So this is advanced level to try and get a shot. Now, I took an intentional, and I'm trying to roll up. I'm trying to use effort and speed and just roll up and freeze the cue ball to the 15. I didn't do it. I left him an opening at that solid right there, and I think he shoots that and squeezes me between a couple balls, I think. So I'm going to advance it so we don't have to wait so long for him to shoot. But he studies this for a while. I mean, he really studies it and is looking at the angles. Look at this shot. Pretty smart.
You got some teasers now.
Well, I do have a shot on this ball in the corner. Tough shot. And the cue ball's going to run into these balls. I'll probably have a shot on the 5 in the side next. Maybe not. And yeah, I mean, it's a teaser. And if I miss, he's off to the races. So what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. If the cue ball was here and I can make a really good bridge, I'm probably going to shoot this ball in the corner. But then again, if the cue ball's there, I'm shooting the 5 in the side, right? So I studied it, and I decided to play safe. I don't think it's a bad shot. And again, I'm shooting the 15 into the open, and I'm going to park the cue ball. I'm going to wedge the cue ball between those 2 balls so he doesn't have a shot. I'm not upset with my shot. I think it's okay.
So I gotta ask you this though. Then
go ahead. Yeah.
Like to me, this is always the advantage, or not the advantage, the benefit of seeing your own gameplay and looking at the analysis of what are you supposed to take? Why did you lose? You're saying to yourself, you're playing all these right shots, but why did you still lose if you're playing all these right shots? Did you get out? And usually, like when I ask myself the same question, it's because did I get outplayed by a better player? Which theoretically that means I'm supposed to lose, or did you play the right shot? Was there a better shot? Because notice I asked that because we're watching Neils top your right shot.
Correct.
So, like, did you really play the right shot, or did you just not see a better shot, or was there a better shot?
Hey, speak up in the chat if you see a better shot. I'm not claiming that my shot is correct or the best. There may have been a better one. Absolutely. Let's go back. Yeah, from here. I don't know if it's the correct shot to play safe. It might be the correct shot to pocket this ball or attempt to. Now, if you miss, you look silly, but maybe that's the right shot. Like I said, if the cue ball if I wasn't bridging over the rail so much, I think I would have. Before the tournament, I shot a lot of practice shooting long balls up in the upper corner pockets, and they were going in just fine. And even if they brushed the rail and you hit it soft, they were going in. So I probably would have shot that. I think the result of my shot, the previous one, he's got a shot at this stripe. I'm trying to get him on the left side of the 15 where he can't not see that solid. So the answer to your question is I didn't play this as well as I needed to. Okay. And then likewise here, the result of this shot, I mean, the cue ball's a half inch from all three of these balls. I'm trying to freeze it to those two. I'm trying to sandwich it in there where he doesn't have as many opportunities. So I would have to say in both of my last two safeties, I didn't execute it as well as I could. Additionally, he's a better player and he's going to top my shot. So his next shot, he put me back in the corner, or no, his next shot, he just did this. And I looked at this. I can't sandwich him anymore because I'm going to sell out a shot, an easy shot on this ball here, right? So things are getting dicey. This happens a lot. I've seen these types of safety battles in other matches, other pro tournaments. And it starts with 13 balls in the rack area. And before somebody gets a shot, there's only 3 balls left in the rack area. And each one of them keeps parking the cue ball in the back of the stack or freezing it on the bottom row in the just right spot where they don't leave a shot. It's really cool. And that's why I wanted to show this. It's amazing how you have all these open balls and both of us are still playing safe on every ball on the table. So I look at this one and I study it and I decide I can't go to the bottom rail. I'm going to sell something out. If I just try to go straight down, I can't thin something like that. I decide that I can do a similar one to what he did. What I'm trying to do is thin this 6 ball over here, but not that far. What I'm trying to do is thin this ball so it only goes to here and bring the cue ball to here so it stops right here, right where he left me on a previous shot. Now he doesn't have a shot from there. There's no shot at all, and he's got to play a safety. That's what I'm hoping to do. And I'll watch me shoot it. Here's the result. Too hard. He has the 5 in the side. So he studies, and here, I got to give credit to Neils. He doesn't just step up to the table. He doesn't just step up, shoot the 5, knowing that there's balls up table he's going to get a shot on. He literally studies this, looks at the angle off the 5, and plans his next 3 or 4 shots and how he's going to get into these 4 balls that are in the rack area. So I think I've got his shot. Let's watch what he does. Kind of a high left. Watch the cue ball. Ooh, that's not so good. I think he was trying to do, I don't know if I show his next shot or not. I think he was trying to go past there and down because then he's going to have a shot on this ball, or if he goes farther, have a shot on the ball on the side. That's what I think he was trying to do. But I don't know if I have it on this video. Yeah, I don't have it. He does. He's got a tough shot here. He clears this rack. I think he shoots the 7 in the side and then has a shot on this ball, and then he clears the rack. So I felt good about my performance in that safety battle, but as you can see, my last 3 shots, I think they were okay. They just weren't quite executed well enough. Okay. I thought that was cool, though. Let's see, what else? Just some random stuff to talk about. Let me take this off the screen and put something else up. During my matches with Peters and then my next match against Spencer Lombardo, I was out of sorts, and I felt body movement on a lot of my shots, which, as you know, is my number one issue, which I have a problem with here. I want to show you a video. Here it is. Let me hit. Well, I'm just going to let this play. This video is playing at 10 speed. That's Hunter Lombardo and me after our match. So I felt that I played bad, and I know that Hunter is an instructor in New York. And after the match, I looked at him and I said, do you mind if I talk to you about something? I'm not paying you for a lesson, but do you mind just giving me a little bit of advice, because I know you're an instructor? He said, sure. And I said, as you probably realize, that my number one issue is both of us at the same time said rising up on the shot. At the same time, we said the same thing. So he knew. We spent the next half hour talking, and that's what this is. This is a 10-speed video, so I'll let it replay. And I'm not going to tell you everything we talked about because I can't give away his instructor secrets. But even though he showed me a lot of stuff and talked to me about a bunch of stuff, he also was telling me that there's way more and wants me to, and suggested that if I'm interested, I can contact him and take a lesson.
All right, so I'm the guest.
Go ahead.
Here, I'm going to take a guess at what I think he might have said to you.
Go ahead.
Which is also me guessing as to why you have a rising up issue.
Good.
So you tell me. You just tell me if I'm in the ballpark or if I'm just way off.
I want to hear it, and I'm going to write it down because I need to fix this.
My guess of you rising up is I think is the same problem that everybody has when it comes to rising up, or why they might chicken wing, or why they might drop their elbow, or I think the answer is all the same. You're trying to solve a problem at the table. And what I mean by that is there is a difficult situation that has come up, and you've assessed that it requires a stroke.
Okay.
And by doing so, you're thinking like, well, I don't have that kind of stroke. So there's compensation that has to come from somewhere. And the type of stroke, when I say that, usually equates to power. There's got to be something that allows power to come in. And so what ends up happening is that an extra momentum of muscle, whether it's a chicken wing, whether it's a shoulder drop, whether it's a rise up, because what do we do when we break? We rise up. It's very natural to where I would venture to say that if you'd have just shot the damn shot, you wouldn't have risen up. But you might have been able to accomplish maybe making the ball or something, but you probably wouldn't have ended up with the transition or the leave that you were wanting. Am I somewhere in the ballpark?
Okay. You are correct. That is exactly what I have said many times. That's not what Hunter said, and I'm going to talk to you about what he said.
Sure.
But I've talked about this on my live streams and various times and in my videos. And you said it's a tough shot, right? So you're nervous. It most often happens when you're nervous about the shot. That's when your body moves and you twitch and whatever. Okay. And yes, it's most often when you want power. And the reason is, the modern stance has the head really low and the elbows really high, and everything's coming from your forearm, right? Which is plenty of power for every shot on a Simonis table. But if you have an upright stance and your upper arm is lower, you can generate more power. And like you said, that's why people rise up on break shots to get more power. That's absolutely the reason why. And I know this and have trained and still rise up on my shots. And that is absolutely one of the drills that I do, shooting longer shots with more power, repetitive shots as a drill, and forcing myself to stay down.
Stay down so that way
stay
you can
still.
Generate more muscle out. You're trying to get the power out of your arm and not out of your body.
You're trying to feel it. And gain the confidence and the understanding that I don't need to move. And so you shoot that hard shot and you stay still for 4 seconds, 5 seconds afterwards to really imprint it. Now I'll tell you what Hunter said. I'm not going to tell you everything he said. We talked for a half hour. I can't. I don't even remember everything he said. Bottom line is this. He said, the reason you rise up is you're not comfortable. And then, as you can see right now, we're working on, he's showing me some things. He's talking about shot entry. He's talking about feet position. He's talking about how to get, he's talking about your vision center and all that stuff like that. I will tell you this much. And I played with it a little bit on my home table here, but I need to do it more. My shot entry I've developed it over these last few years to be just a single step shot entry with my left foot. And I get my left foot forward. So the first thing he had me do was get into my stance and push on my shoulders. Like we've all done that. And I moved too much. He said, see, you're not comfortable. My left foot gets out too far in front, and my stance, the space between my left and right feet aren't wide enough. For a lot of players, this isn't an issue, and I suspect you've never had much trouble with this, Chris. I'm too tall to play pool. I've got to have a wider stance to have the stability left to right. But I've got to do it in such a way that I'm comfortable, that I could stay in that stance for a half hour if I needed to. Yeah. Because if I'm not comfortable, that makes you want to move at the moment you shoot.
Yep.
So that's what Hunter was talking about. And then he kind of had me try a few different things. And what I was doing wrong, which I agree with him 100%, I had developed a shot entry where my right foot was on the line and my head was tilted to the side to get it on the shot line. And then when I stepped forward with my left foot, my head would shift left and then come back to the right to get over the line. Mm-hmm. So he saw that where I never did. I was trying to pattern myself. I was trying to watch Eklund Kachi because he's the same size as me and see what he does. And he said, and he told me, you're not seeing everything that he does. So I don't know if he's worked with Eklund or not. But he had me get my entire body, my belly button, centered on the shot, my head centered on the shot line, and my feet on both sides of the shot line. Which ironically is what Mark Wilson showed me 4 years ago when I had my first lesson with him. And I talked myself into deviating from it. Go ahead.
I could have sworn I heard something very similar from CJ Wiley. I think I heard a very similar video to CJ Wiley about how like your body would be on the center of your body's on the center of the shot line, and just how you manage to spread your feet, and that way you can just like bend straight down. Everything is where it's supposed to be. There's no deviation or something about that. Yeah. I think that he has on his channel.
Saying that's easy, but getting your feet to do the correct thing is what he never talks about, and what you need to know, especially if you're a taller player, especially like me. So when Mark Wilson first had me do that, I was doing a two-step shot entry. So my body would be centered, and then when I began to get in the shot, my right foot would take a small step so my toes were inside the line, and then my left foot would take a step. For whatever reason, it's too complicated to get into. That devolved into what I was doing, where my head was moving too much and all that. So what Hunter had me do, instead of getting into the shot by going right-left, he had me go left-right. So my body is centered, my vision center is centered, and I take a step with my left foot wider than normal, wider than what I was doing, and at the same time, I rotate from the waist, so my head rotates straight down on the shot line. And that's something that I never did because I always felt I had to rotate my shoulders. He said, "Hey, you can do that after. That you need to be comfortable, and that will follow." So I've been teaching that your shot entry starts with your right foot and builds from your right foot. And essentially what he's saying, what I'm interpreting him saying is, no, your shot entry begins with your vision center in your body and goes there, and then everything else comes into line with that. And that's what I'm going to teach from now on. So instead, so now for me, it's bringing my body straight down and stepping forward with the left foot. And then once I'm down, my right foot can just wiggle and shift over whatever I need to be comfortable. Right. Because that's the key. So that's a change for me. Yeah, that's interesting, and that's a change for me. And so
So
for people, go ahead.
I was going to say, I see a question from now asking
Oh.
if I will ever play in a 14-1 tournament like with you. I'll never say never, but just I've said this in the past. I'm just not fond of. We know, or let me say this: we know and understand that these types of tournaments are major investments.
Yeah.
And so I don't particularly see myself as that type of an investment player, meaning that I wouldn't make the investment for the experience. Because I would think I would go to this event as a dead weight, and meaning that I have no chance. But in order for me to like, well, how good am I? Right? I got to go out there and find out. So I have to eventually at some point.
Get in the box.
I got to get in the box. I got to get in the ring and go for it at some point in time. But it definitely for me has to be at a point in my life to where like I feel like I can make the investment. And in general, I just don't make those types of investments. That's why the only quote unquote pro like tournament that I play in is the Texas Open, because it's in my own backyard.
Yeah.
No travel expenses, nothing. I just got to drive there and back, and that's it. Right.
Listen,
if I was local to where the International Open is, completely different story, right? I might be there every year, but who knows? So will I ever go? I mean, like I said, I never say never. It's just a matter of, when and funding and, and time off and whatnot.
Sensei Nate says, look up Sochin stance in karate. So I'm making a note of that. I'll do that. Hey, welcome, Nate. I'm glad you're here. And my nickname for you is Mr. Amortization. Hope you find that funny. Sochin stance. I'm going to look it up. So at the end of this, I'll talk about what I'm going to do going forward. But one of the things is working on that. So let's take Hunter off the screen. He's been up there long enough. You can find him on Facebook if you're interested. He's a very good instructor if you're in the northeast part of the country. So that's that. I'm really looking forward to next year, and I'm looking forward to running getting a 200 ball run before the tournament next year. Let me talk about a couple other things. Let's see. I talked about this. I want to show you something here. Watch this video.
All good speed. Now these guys are hitting this low. I don't like that.
This is Max.
I like the high
got another
ball
guest.
just blast right in.
Who's
there.
that?
This is Link.
Oh, hey, Link. What a cute doggy. Don't you got two of those or what? Just one?
Yeah, the female just recently got spayed, so she's downstairs in her crate and isn't really allowed to move anywhere.
Okay. I've already mentioned that I think Max Lechner played the best tournament, though he didn't win. He took second. He did something that I saw, that I noticed, and I don't think many people noticed it. He didn't do it 100% of the time, but he did it very deliberately. I would say 50% of the time. So I'm going to rewind this. I'm going to pause this. This is there's just two examples,
Now,
two shots here that I'm going to show Max.
I don't like that.
So here's a break shot. No, this is not what I'm talking about. He's lining it up the way the Europeans do. They put their cue stick over, rather than putting their cue stick on the 90-degree line into the rack. They put their cue stick over the line from the pocket through the ball, and then they just visualize the 90-degree line into the stack. It's weird.
No, they don't. No,
they don't. What do they do?
There's a caveat that you're missing. Neils Fiejen taught this in some of his straight pull videos. Because if you look closer at what he's doing, his pull cue is lined up to where the joint collar is where the ghost ball is. So that's his line. The joint collar points where the cue ball will go after after it hits the ball.
I didn't know that. That's okay. Yep. So he's using the joint collar to see the line.
Yep, to get his tangent line.
That's better than what I do, which is point at the rack and just kind of visualize the line. That's better. Holy crap. All right. That makes this entire live stream worth it for me right there. All right, let's watch.
Doesn't matter what direction you're coming from. Just imagine if the tip of the cue is pointing at the pocket instead. Just make sure that your joint collar of your cue is lined up where the ghost ball is, so that way you can see the tangent line going into the rack.
You know, I'm a woodworker, and I've got a big old 2-foot carpenter's square, and I'll bring one to the next tournament and use that to line up the balls.
Actually, when I had Tony Robles at my house, at my old house, he actually had a very interesting laser pen that I've been looking for and I haven't been able to find. But you know how laser pointers basically just shine a red dot somewhere, and that's it. His laser pen shined a crosshair.
Oh yeah.
So he would basically point the laser onto the table so you can see the line that goes through the ball to the pocket, and then of course the crosshair also gives you the tangent line as well for an external tool.
Nate's talking about that karate stance. He says it's bent knees and your hips follow your feet, and a longer, wider stance. So during the long time that I kept fiddling with my stance all the time, when I was in Denver, I made a couple videos, where's my feet go and all that. And I experimented several times with my right foot being over the shot line. And I always came back and said, no, I need to do what Mark Wilson says and get my toes inside the shot line. It was always better alignment and a straighter cue delivery and all this stuff. And once again, I'm not so sure. For a tall player like me, even if my heel, I'm not talking about being way outside the line, but even if my heel is on the shot line and the rest of my foot is over, my legs are so long that I'm getting all the shoulder and torso rotation I need to have perfect alignment with plenty of clearance because my legs are so long. And it's comfortable. And Sensei Nate is also talking about the knees bent. And for the last 4 years, I've loved having my right leg straight the way the snooker players teach. I've loved it, but I find myself more and more, it depends on the shot, because there's lots of different body positions that you get in around the table. There's plenty of shots where my right knee is bent and it's just fine. So I'm changing.
I think there's a pretty good consensus with a lot of tall players that if you were to basically take the snooker stance, which is main leg straight, forward leg bent, that a lot of tall players both legs are bent. You can basically take the snooker stance, but both legs
bring it down,
are bent, and you're almost basically squatting at that point. The taller you are, the lower you start to squat at that point.
I was thinking about this during my match with Hunter Lombardo. I don't know if he's probably not watching. He's not a tall guy. He's probably 5'5" or so, and I'm so freaking jealous of him. And he talked about it when we were talking afterwards, because when he gets into his stance, he just goes boop. He hardly has to do anything with his feet and his legs. It's just boop, he's there. I'm like, hey, you son of a bitch. Oh, so I didn't mean to say.
I mean, come on, I'm the same way. I'm only 5'5". You know, it doesn't take much for me to.
It doesn't take much
to lower myself on a table. So it's hard for me to give any type of advice for tall players.
People always say, "Oh, you're tall. You must be so good at pool." Yes, tall helps in pool to reach for shots. There are advantages. But the primary criteria is better for short if you're shorter. And that primary criteria is stability over the shot.
Yeah.
When your legs are shorter, you can get into that stance easier and you're stable. John Schmidt has said, pool is a contest between two people to see which one can stay still better. And what's my number one problem? Rising up off the shot. Because I'm so tall. It's harder. The shorter players have an easier time playing pool because stability is the number one criteria, number one thing you need. All right. We're looking at Max. So he measures this straight shot. This is during the finals with Mario Heat.
Right into him.
So watch this.
You don't have to kill it.
Object ball, right? Sight behind the object ball.
Well, the thing
Come
is,
back behind the cue ball. Acquire your aim point. Both, he does it fast, but I'm going to talk about it first. the center of his body is on the shot line, and each foot is centered equally. Watch him center. He centers himself on the shot. Watch.
Going into the pile. Let's see.
Did you see that?
Here. He's hitting like that.
I'll play it again.
I like the high ball and just blast.
He does it quickly here, and there were many shots where he did it much more deliberately than this.
Yep.
But he kind of waggles back and forth.
Going into
Look at him center himself.
Let's see what he
and
does.
Then he gets into his shot.
Right.
See that? I just think that's $1 million if you're trying to play pool. Watch Max play and watch him do that. And just 2 years ago, Max was a lower level pro, and he's in the top tier now, guys. He's really doing it, and that's what it takes.
Right.
And he draws this like Thorsten Homan, which is not advised. When he shot that,
and
Mike Siegel was announcing he about had a heart attack.
But that's why you don't do
that.
that. Okay.
Something to hang up here.
Now, this is the very next shot.
ball.
6 ball on the side.
Yes.
It's a little
But
bit
he
of a
was
tricky
lucky
shot.
to go right
You
in
know,
the
you
hole.
don't like to shoot it from that distance.
So
cue ball in the
that's
other
not
rail.
the way
But
to
he's gonna.
play that.
You figure him to put
But
this down, and all the balls are pretty
but
wide
you get
open.
the
He's
same
gonna
result
clear
with
this
the high
right.
follow.
Watch him center himself.
Same
See, centered.
When the
You see how he stood fully upright, and he kind of waggled in his stance and got completely centered. He did it kind of quickly, but you see that? And then get into the shot. Now, tell me why. Tell me why.
All right, let's see.
Why did Mike Siegel react the way he reacted on that break shot?
Goodness.
Is it because is Mike Siegel still a classic straight pull player, and that was not a classic break shot?
Yes, he complained about that several times during the tournament. He said in his day, you couldn't put a gun to his head and get him to draw the cue ball to the head rail. Nobody did that. Nobody.
You're only supposed to knock out 4 or 5 balls, and then one of those balls is supposed to be a re-break ball. And
yeah, Mike did talk about the break shot a lot, and I'm going to show a video next where Mike talks, and I think you can. I don't know if you can hear him in it or not, but I think you can. And
I can't, but it looks like the viewers can.
The viewers can, okay. And so I'll play that next. But yeah, Mike Siegel is awesome. He is a character. But no, he talked about the angle, and he called, when I talk about the parallel line a lot through the ghost ball, he calls it the Siegel line. He goes, all right, where's the cue ball in relation to my Siegel line? Let me draw my Siegel line, as if he invented it. But I mean, it's true. And he's talking about that optimal angle is that cut, not parallel and not just a little, but like 2 ball widths inside the parallel line. So the cue ball has more energy, and more often than not, you can use topspin no matter where the break ball is. Yep. That's the best break shot. Then you never have to draw the cue ball to the head rail. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is really interesting to me because Max does his entire shot routine. Tell me why he missed this shot. Because he did everything the way he does. He stayed down on the shot. He has a slow backstroke. He didn't move an inch, or did he? Why do you think he missed that?
Because he's human. Like,
okay, if that's all it is, I'm good with that. I mean, if I missed that shot on a live stream here on my home table, I would be calling out my Swedish furniture. I would be pissed off.
even as an amateur, I've always said the moment you take your final, you're ready to, you pause at the cue ball or whatever, and you're about to take that final stroke and hit the ball. Everything in your head says this looks
good
or feels. Pick whatever word you want. It looks or feels right. Fire, and you're going to find out if you're correct or incorrect. It just does not matter at that point. Yeah. And so I think it's clear to say that when he shot, he thought everything looked and felt right, but he missed. So for a professional like that, I just have to think he was just off by that millimeter that he didn't see, which is what makes you human.
I got 2 more. Let's take a look at them real quick. The next one, this is cool because this has happened a ton of times on my home table on my live streams. And you can hear Mike Siegel talking. So he has an ideal he has an ideal opportunity here
got up
to
too
use
far.
that stripe as a
think
pivot
that is
ball. And he
great,
wants the
yeah.
cue ball to go to the rail and off
table is so
to get that
fast when he
optimal
has
angle on
that
the 8 ball as a
angle
break
where if
shot.
he even hit
So
it
listen
soft,
to
it
Mike
comes
Siegel.
off like a mile. You know, so I think he can force this. Be careful. Take some time. Too hard. Too hard.
Mike
Too hard.
knew
Too hard.
immediately. Let me bring this back over here.
Seagull line. He's on the other side of the seagull line. Barely.
What's happening? Oh, there we go.
Ideally, he wanted.
I'm going to go back to the
He
shot.
has that angle. He can. Too hard.
Right? Mike Siegel is shouting out, too hard, right? How many times have I done that? I've done the same thing.
Too hard.
See how the cue ball, let me get back there. The cue ball hits the rail and it has some left spin, probably contact induced spin, and it comes up this way. So that spin is keeps the cue ball from taking a more direct line off the rail, makes it harder to cross the seagull line so that you can keep the cue ball inside of the 8, but he still hit it too hard. I've done that and I berated myself. I'm like, you dummy, you hit it too hard. And here's Mario He, the winner of the straight pool tournament, hitting it too hard. My point is, I think I'm too hard on myself too. What do you think of that?
You think you're too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Shout out to my coach, Demetrius Gelatis from MM Pool Bootcamp.
Yeah.
Because what I'm going to say here is I don't think necessarily you're too hard on yourself. I think you have the same problem that we all have, ego.
Yes. I agree.
What does your ego say that you can do? And it's like, oh, why can't I do this? I should have been able to do this. Should.
Right.
And this goes back to you're human. You messed up. Do better next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't, like I said, easier said than done, because when your ego gets in the way, saying, I know I can do this. Well, I mean, clearly you couldn't at that point in time. So let's learn from it and get better.
Yeah. So that I agree. I think that's the lesson I need to take from it. I could make a highlight reel an hour long showing shots that pros missed, and not tough shots, routine shots that they missed or played bad position or bad safeties. And that's not to put them down. It is to knock them off the pedestal a little bit and say, look, they're human. They miss shots too. They just don't do it as much as we do. And that's all it is. I say all, that's a lot. Improving your skills to get to that level.
Real quick, here's a good question from ETRFG. He says he's curious to know if we think our Fargos are what they are, not from sandbagging, but wholeheartedly trying like we would in certain tournaments where it's merely for fun or whatever. So I think he must miss the discussion about when you were talking about your Fargo. and then what my counter is, but my Fargo is wholeheartedly trying.
Okay.
To where it doesn't matter what my opponent is, I'm just going to try to beat the snot out of you. It doesn't matter if you're a 300 Fargo rated player or if you're a 2 in the APA system and an 8-ball and I'm a 7. Like I'm playing you like you're me.
Good.
And so I managed to climb myself up to a 650 before I had my surgery. And so actually I did manage to hit a couple of balls the other day. I went out to league last night to hang out with my teammates. First time I've been out in 3 months since my surgery. Hit a couple of balls. I didn't play. I just hung out.
Yeah.
But I did hit a couple of balls, and I can tell I got some work to do when I get back into it. But it felt good to hit a couple of balls. I was still making some good shots and whatnot.
Yeah.
But my Fargo is I do not believe in sandbagging in any way, shape, or the form. I do not believe in being charitable.
Good.
It's competition. If you want to play in competition, be expected to win or lose in competition, and that's
don't even give your mother another shot.
Exactly.
Tell her to sit down. And for the record, when I got to Vegas for the BCA and other tournaments, BSI tournaments, yeah, I played as hard as I could every match, every shot. No doubt about it. I want to point out what Silver Q said because it is extremely wise. You're not good enough to get mad when you miss. And that's a really good lesson. Just accept it. Like I said, accept all outcomes. That's what happened. Oh, okay. Why did that happen? Let's practice it so I can do better next time. Okay. What else did I have in this video, Matt? Did I show something else? There's more in this video, but I'm not sure if that's supposed to be in there or not.
I think I don't know.
No, I guess that was the only point to that video. I think we're about done. Let me see. I got one more thing I want to talk about, and we'll close up. Talked about Max. I'm just crossing things off my list. Oh, I want to show this. Let me take this off the screen and go to this. This is interesting to talk about because this is the score sheet for the finals. I rewatched the match and scored it. So the match, this is a race to 150 points. This is the finals between Max Lechner and Mario He. It went 10 innings. So that's not a lot of innings, but that's not 2 or 3 innings. There was plenty of exchanges, as you can see. Now, I want you to look at one thing. First of all, the left column shows how each inning ended, whether it was a safety, a miss, or a foul. So Max Lechner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 missed shots. Mario He, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missed shots. Max Lechner, 2 fouls. Mario He, 2 fouls. Almost identical, right? Each of them played 1 safety. And by the way, the fouls, Max scratched on the opening shot, but I think the other fouls might have been intentional safeties, intentional fouls. So we're kind of even on missed shots, aren't we? Even on those shots and fouls. Take a look at the first 3 innings. Mario had the first opportunity to score. He ran 4 balls. Then Max closed out the rack, pocketed the break shot, and made 1 more ball and missed. Mario cleared that rack, made the break shot, and then missed. Then Max ran 8 and missed. Then Mario ran 5 and played safe because he didn't have a break shot. That's looks like the score sheet from League Night from some amateurs, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It's, if you watch the game, it's not, because they're taking on tough shots and they have difficult positions. But this is simply to reinforce again, when the pros play, it's not always 3 innings. One guy runs 80, the next guy runs 60, and then the other guy runs 50 and out. No, they do the same things we do. But when they get opportunities to score, Mario finally got into a rhythm and he ran 52. 3 racks, a 7, 3 racks, and a 3. So that put him ahead 73-26. Now Max is feeling the pressure. They both miss a couple times again. Now Max gets going and he runs 88. That's what straight pool's like when it's played at a good level. 50 to 60, 70, 80 ball runs exchanged, but lots of safeties and other things going on in between those. What makes it so interesting. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to say what's interesting is how that scorecard works. Mainly because I'm just used to keeping score 1 rack at a time, to where the score, where the rack score between both players always adds up to 14, and then there's your running total, and I can decode what I'm reading here to where, okay, on line 1, Max fouls, so -1, and then right. Mario He scores 4 on the first rack and then misses. Right. Then you get 10 more on line 2. Now you've got 10 more from Max Lechner and that slash. So right. You got the 10 from Max and the 4 from the previous line. They give you your 14.
Yeah.
And then keep on going. So now in the next rack, Max scores 2 points and then finally misses. So, but we don't know if we're going to write the subtotal of 12 yet on there.
Right. Not till it's over.
It just happens to be that now that we're on Mario's turn, Mario does score 12 and 2, give you your 14. So now we can create the subtotal for Max, because Max's turn is over for that rack. But then going into the next rack, Mario only makes 1, and then misses, and so on and so forth.
No, you can subtotal Max as soon as he's done, because when he shoots 2 and misses, that inning is over. Your inning is your turn at the table. right?
Is it?
Yes. Each line is 1 inning at the table. Each line is not a rack. Each line is your one turn at the table. So when Max missed, I subtotaled the 12 and gave him a total score of 11. That's done.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
So like that's the part that because I can see between line 2 and 3, it takes the 1, the 8, and the 5
to make it
to complete the rack.
Right. So during that rack, Mario had 2 innings at the table and Max had 1, but they're in sequential order, and the numbers between the slash marks always add up to 14 because that's the end and beginning of each rack.
Right.
What was I going to say? Yeah, it's the innings at the table. Actually, this is really funny because during my match with Candela and then against Pius, both of them kept score, and the Europeans keep score in a funny way on paper.
Yeah.
They write down the number of balls on the table when they leave the table. And then as far as how they total the rest, I could not understand it. I made a post about it. Well, I'll tell you first. After my match with Pius, I said, would you mind, because I mentioned it to him during the match, I said, would you mind if I show you, I asked him first, I said, would you teach me your method of scoring? And then under the agreement that then I show you my way and you tell me what you think. So he showed me his way, and it makes sense, but you're tracking a whole bunch of numbers and it makes a big mess. But apparently most Europeans keep score that way. I made a post on Straight Pool Fanatics about it, and Steve Lipsky chimed in and he said, something like, you poor soul, we've been trying to get them to change for 20 years. So I have a video on my YouTube channel about how to keep score in Straight Pool, and I show how to do this in details, slowly in detail. So I showed that to Pius, and I said, and he understood it, and he said, yeah, that's simple, that's real simple. But I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it my way. It's just their habit. It's their habit. Yeah. Now, the next day, I was talking to somebody else about it, and at that moment, Thorsten Homans walked by, and I said, Thorsten, let me ask you a question. Do you mind? I said, and I didn't preface it with anything. I said, when you keep score on paper, how do you keep score? He said, 1 line per inning, and you put a slash mark at the end of each track, and the balls between the slash add up to 14. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I do, Thorsten. Thank you. So there's at least one European who keeps score the right way. But the way they do it is nuts. The reason why they do it their way is they say, if you make a mistake, you can work your way back and you can see the number of balls on the table and get it. But the way I do it, there's never a mistake. Because every time you leave the table, like for example, let's look at this. When Mario comes to the he comes to the table in inning 3. Okay? When Max leaves, there's 5 balls on the table, right? Or there's going to be 6 balls on the table. And so when Max misses and leaves the table, there's 6 balls, plus the one that Mario made is 7, minus 15 is 8. So Max knows he made 8. So you use the balls on the table to calculate the number 8 to write down. Once you've written it down, it's correct and there is no mistake. So now Mario completes the rack. Now you use 14. So Mario, when he keeps score here, he says, okay, 1 ball there, 8 ball there. That's 9 balls. Minus 14 is 5. So Mario knows that he made 5. So during the rack, you use 15 because there's 15 on the table. When a rack is over, there's 1 ball remaining. So now you subtract from 14. That's all you got to know. And so the score is always correct and you'll never have to go back. Anyway. The point I wanted to make is this. Look at Mario's first first good run where he ran 3 racks. So he runs 3 racks. He has 7 balls at the beginning and then 3 at the end for a total of 52, right? What I want you to do, though, is look at the slash marks. That's 4 break shots. The key to straight pool is getting a good angle on your break shot, pocketing the break shot, and getting a good spread on the balls. Look at Mario's run. What if his first inning was 14 and then he didn't pocket the break shot? He would still have pocketed 4 break shots, but it would have been a run of 56. What I'm trying to say is we're always focused on running balls, but when you get to a certain level, you have super high confidence that you're going to clear the rack. Why don't players have longer runs more often? And there's many reasons, but the number one reason is the break shot. When you don't get a good angle on the break shot, that is the leading cause to a run coming to an end. And it's not because you missed the break shot. It's more than often it's because you have a shallow angle and you don't get very many balls open, and then you're unable to re-break and continue the run. So I think that's a really, really interesting point. And then you notice when you're looking at this, you're trying to, Mario won this game, but Max had the longer run. Max ran 88. Mario longest run was only 52. Okay.
I mean, we're still talking about a numbers game here. You're talking 88 after scoring 27. Well, by the time and Max did his at 52, but then everything after that just kind of falls apart. So you got the 52 plus 36 plus the 24. So I mean, who cares if they're that? Like that, to me, that's no different than watching someone run 100 make one inning, or I'm sorry, what's the right way of doing this? One inning of running 149 balls and then missing, right? They need that one more point to win, but then this is clearly an extreme case, but the other player runs 100 balls, plays it safe.
Yeah.
And wins the safe and then runs 50.
Yeah.
Like at the end, who cares who's got the high run? Who's got the final score?
Who's got the final score? Yep. If you can run 42 and play safe, you win the race to 125 in 3 innings.
Yeah.
You don't need a high run. Yeah. So that's the key. You want a good angle on your break shot so that you have a very good chance of getting through the rack. But when you don't, you need to play good safety. When I watched this match live, I was in the bleachers watching it, and Max ran the 88, and I had been watching Max through the tournament, and I was like, even though the run ended on 88, I said to myself, this is Mario's last chance. If he doesn't get out here, he's going to lose, and Max is going to win the tournament. Sure enough, Mario only ran 1 full rack and when he fouled, and he only got to 119. So Max comes to the table behind 4 points in a race to 150. He needs 35. I said to myself, Max just won the tournament. Look what happened. Yep. Max got 2 more opportunities to win, and he didn't. And I have all the sympathy for Max and all the respect. I think he played the best in this tournament. If you watch, you can. It wasn't. I mean, it was tricky situations, but it wasn't terribly tricky. It was just real unfortunate. But that's pool. That's how it goes. Yep. Okay. All right. And then the other match you guys should watch, anyone who's interested enough to go pay, subscribe to Digital Pool, you have to. My favorite match of the whole tournament was actually Neils Fiejen versus Mario He. And I think I have the score sheet for that up here. I think I have the score sheet too. Let me look. Where is it? Max Finals Arena. Maybe I don't have it. No, I don't have it. Thought I did. Anyway, Mario gets ahead. It's an exchange, kind of like this one. Mario gets to 149 and misses or scratches or something. Mario has 149. I think Neils had like 30 something. So he doesn't have to run 100, but he has to run like 86 or 90 or some balls in order to get out. And Neils does not get out, but he runs 3 racks. And in my opinion, those are the 3 best racks of the tournament. I talked about the fact that you're only going to get a certain number of opportunities in a tournament match, and you have to make the most of them. Neils even made a post about this on his Facebook page. You can go read about it. He talks about it. He came to the table knowing that if he does not run 80 some balls and out, he's going to lose because Mario needs one ball. There's no playing safe. Mario needs one, right? He's got to run out. And he knows that there's many examples in straight pool history where this has happened. It happened 2 years ago where Ruiz ran 149, I think it was 149, misses, and Victor Zielinski came to the table and ran 150 and out. It happens. Mike Siegel talked about it during this tournament. Mike Siegel has done it more than once, where his opponent needed 1 or 4 or 5, and he's ran over 100 and out. And so Neils is capable of doing it. And how do you do it? You gotta work your ass off. If you want to see, I'll probably feature one or more racks that Neils made in that game on my rack of the week. Because if you want to see somebody working the rack, evaluating his opportunities, and every one of those racks were tough. He had very limited opportunities, real difficult spots to open the balls, and he found a way to get through each of those racks. I think those 3 racks that Neils ran, even though he lost the match, those were the best 3 racks of the tournament for that reason. So recommend that match if you want to watch it. All right, let's wrap it up. What am I doing?
All right, so I see a question that I want to attempt to tackle. This is from Tanmay. It says, "Why does it feel I improve after taking a substantial break from playing pool?" I think this is something very common. We all experience that after you've taken a long break, you seem to play better when you come back from a long break. And my attempt to answer that question is this. After you've played for an extended period of time, there's the ego and there's the expectation of like what you feel you should be able to do after an extended period of time. So and that ego that allows you to get mad at yourself because like I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? Because we just can't accept that we're human and we're still learning and we still make mistakes. So when you've taken a long break and then come back, I think that equates to, well, what if you're brand new? If you're brand new, you have no expectations. You're trying to learn something. So you're kind of going into this with like a really nice positive attitude. And every time you do something that automatically just feels like an improvement. But then once again, after you're into it for a long time, the expectations start to go up and you start to notice your failures more and more, and you're starting to remember them and they're starting to hurt. Whereas when you were learning, your failures weren't all that harmful to you. It's like, okay, whatever, I'm still learning. Ha ha ha. This is the same kind of stuff that my coach talks about. So when it comes to after taking a long break, why does it feel like you improve? I think the answer is the same, because you're coming back to it with lesser expectations than when you quit. And so since you have lesser expectations, you don't care about the mistakes that you're making. You're not really paying that close of attention to them as well. But then over the course of time, I bet you start to pay attention to them. And then all of a sudden you realize maybe you just haven't really improved all that much. You're just catching back up to where you left off until you hit your plateau again. And now you have to fight to break through the plateau or to break through the wall again. That's my attempt to wonder why it feels like you've improved after taking a substantial break. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree 1,000%. And one of us needs to cut that little speech you just made out and make it into a short. Put it on YouTube. Because, 100%. You're right. And I need to work on that. I've mentioned already that I need to work on my mental game. I've got books here along those lines. I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm hearing what Nate is saying, and Demetrius and Hunter Lombardo. And I don't know if that's enough for me. I wonder if I don't need a coach, somebody who can talk to me and dig into my brain, which is a scary thought, and really come up with a plan of action for me specifically to work on that, because I do need to work on that.
This is what my coach has said to me, and it has changed my mental fortitude on myself. Pool's a tough game.
It's tough.
It's as simple as that. Pool's a tough game, because if I'm going to keep getting mad at myself whenever I make a mistake, just like the quote that we just talked about, I'm not good enough to get mad.
Right.
Right. By Mark Wilson. But pool's a tough game. So when did anybody decide I'm good?
Yeah.
When does that happen in your pool career? It doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it does. That's why you start getting mad at yourself. That's why you start getting, you get frustrated.
Your ego gets pumped up.
Yeah, and so when I had that, I have to plug my own YouTube channel at this point. Yeah, do it. Because if you go to my YouTube channel, look for a video called The Competitor Cycle. This is a speech done by my coach during a live stream that illustrates exactly what I'm talking about. And what ended up happening is that once I heard that competitor cycle, basically again, easier said than done. So I had to work on this, but and sometimes I still falter because I'm human. But basically what happens to me when I miss, I don't go, oh, I should have made that, blah, 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 or whatever. Because sometimes I'm missing shots that you would think like 9 times out of 10 I should make. And then sometimes I miss shots where it's like, yeah, it's a low percent shot, so I'm not surprised that I missed. The point being is that it doesn't matter which scenario it's in. Pool's a tough game. Next.
And that ties into what I said earlier. I could make a highlight reel an hour long showing the shots that the pros missed. And most of them are not difficult shots. You fully expect those pros to make those balls. And why do they miss it? You just said why. Because pool's hard. That's one thing that I really took to heart in the last couple of weeks before I spent to the tournament is
and so I just think
you have to put in the work on every shot, because it is a hard game.
For us as amateurs, the sooner you can accept that, I think the sooner you can enjoy the growth that you'll experience during the whole thing is to stop having expectations on yourself, realizing that every day of your game as an amateur, you're still trying to learn.
Yeah.
And while you're learning, you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you've hit a shot 75 times. When you miss that 76 shot, pool's a tough game.
It's a tough game. I love Efren Reyes as a role model, because when he played, you could see the look on his face was fierce. He was intent, trying to play. But when he misses shots, what does he do?
Smile and laughing.
He smiles and laughs. He goes, "Oh, I can't believe I missed that."
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't get him down. He would just come to the table the next time, ready to play again. And when he did play good, he was happy. He was enjoying it. He was having fun, even though it was hard work. And that's a trick too, is to enjoy the hard. That's what Tom Hanks said about baseball in A League of Their Own. The hard is what makes it great.
And there's no crying in baseball.
No crying in baseball. All right, I'm gonna close this up. This has been wonderful, Chris. Thank you.
This was fun. I hope the viewers enjoyed this.
I got shoulder pain, and I want to ask you a question, Chris.
Yes.
Like a month before the tournament, I started getting just a little twinge of shoulder pain when I would begin to play in the morning, begin to play pool. And it would only take 1 or 2 or 3 shots, and it would go away, and I'd be fine. But it got worse and worse. And in the last week before I left, the first couple shots, when I would try to get into the alignment for it was like, ow, ow, really hurt. And then at the tournament, it was hurting too. And I thought it was because I had, in the month before, I had really adopted really cranking my neck and getting my left shoulder turned and get a chin tuck and get a real good alignment like that. I was really focused. And I thought that's what I was doing. I was just straining my muscles here. But I have a question for you. I switched some time ago, a few months ago, from a belt to suspenders for my pants. So I had two straps going over my shoulders. And I wonder if instead, because the where it hurts is exactly where that strap went, both in back and in front across my clavicle. And I wonder if the act of getting into my pool stance pulled on the suspenders and would force that strap into my muscles. And have I not seen you wear suspenders once in a while? No? I've seen somebody.
To answer your question is whether or not if the suspenders come into play or not. It's to answer your question. It's a very simple experiment. How long did you go without shooting with suspenders?
My whole life.
And you've never experienced the problem?
Correct. So it's the suspenders.
Right,
I totally believe. I think it is.
But you still have a counterpart that you have to, so you have your whole life where you never wore suspenders, and then all of a sudden before this tournament you were wearing suspenders for how long?
Probably just 2 months before.
2 months before. So now go back to not wearing suspenders for 2 months. Play the same way and tell me if the pain is still there. That's your before and after experiment.
So even right now, like once in a while, I'm sitting in the chair, I'll get a little twinge going across, and I read up about it's probably the strap, compressed things and has pinched a nerve and things got to relax. And I've got my little massager. Every night I'm like, oh yeah. Ooh. So I think that's been helping. And then I'm doing stretches and I'm doing yoga, and I'm going to lose.
You clearly have to. You clearly have to muscles. You clearly have to relax the muscles and whatnot. But then I would venture to say, let's stop wearing suspenders for 2 months, and then tell me how that muscle feels again after that. And I think that's all the evidence you need at that point. That's
what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to work on that stance the way that Hunter has talked about, and which doesn't force my shoulders into as much of rotation, but I'm still aligned just fine. So I'm going to be studying that. And then the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be looking for tournaments, but I think the other thing I can do is when I play drills, I have to be much more strict with myself. I have to keep a log and have goals and score them, because when you play drills, it has to put the same pressure on you that you feel when you're in a tournament. Mm-hmm. I have to perform now. You can't get lazy. And I know that I've talked about that on my live streams, that I get lazy too easily. So I need that mindset, and that ties in with the mental game as well. And then two questions. Oh, and I'm going to play the ghost more. I'm going to play the ghost more in practice sessions, because you can track that as well. And there's no forgiveness when you play the ghost. If you miss a shot, the ghost wins the game. So that's good practice. At least you can get some more pressure on you doing that. So I'm going to do that more. And then there is the Predator 10 ball open in Las Vegas in February. So I'll just ask the chat right now, should I go play? Even though I'm not a 10 ball player, but I'll practice. I've played plenty of 10 ball, but just as the experience to get in the box and compete, is it worth it to pay the $300 entry fee and the hotel and everything? I'm close enough. I can drive to Las Vegas in 6 hours. So it's kind of easy for me to get there. Should I go play in that tournament? Is that good training for me? What do you say, Chris?
I would, well, for straight pull, no.
Okay.
But because it's not straight pull. You're playing different strategies and whatnot. Yeah. But as far as mental training, sure, because it's competition. Like you always have to. We already talked about how you got to get in the ring. You got to experience those ups and downs. You got to so that way you know how to deal with them as they come about. So from that aspect, I would say yes.
Okay.
Competition is always a benefit, because not only are you testing your skills, even though you're testing your skills under a different criteria, because it's not straight pull, but you're always challenging your mental skills.
You're putting yourself in the box, not with the local player that you've played 50 times. You're putting yourself in the box with a pro,
right?
Who you've never played before. I think it's just great experience. Yeah, I should do it. So that's it. I think, Dale, we just talked about what I'm going to do, changes. So my goal is to run 200 balls. So I'm going to, I hope the straight pool tournament happens next year, and I will go again next year, and I will train in preparation for that in the 2 or 3 months before it. But between then and now, first thing I'm going to do is relax. I'm not going to be playing as much pool for the month of December. I'll play some, but I'm nursing my shoulder still, and I will be making training videos. But beginning the first of the year, I'm going to start training again. I'm going to ease into it, and I'm going to figure out how to refresh myself as far as running 200 balls, the goal to 200. There's questions there. Should I do it on this table? Should I be going to a pool hall where I can play on a diamond that has softer pockets? How should I approach that? There are questions about that. And I'll ask the chat and you, Chris, also.
It's cheaper to do it on your home table. I mean,
should I get rid of this gold crown and bring a diamond in here in my living room?
I don't think that. I don't think that plays as heavy of a factor as some. I mean, no one's going to argue that a gold crown is different than an Oldhausen. It's different than a diamond. It's different than a Rasan. It's different than a. No one's going to argue that.
Right.
But I mean,
at the end of the day, it's six pockets, right?
None of those tables matter if the ball is going into the center of the pocket.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, that's true.
You know, do you want to be that type of player that relies on the object ball brushing against the rail before it goes into the pocket, or do you just want to hit the center of the damn pocket?
And hit the center.
If it's going to be the center of the damn pocket, then the table doesn't matter, as far as I'm concerned.
And when I run 200, I don't want there to be an asterisk that says this was an easy table that I sought out to play on. You know what I mean? I want it to be here. Jason Shaw's 714 was on an easy table, okay? And so was the 626. That was a 5-inch pockets. That was an easier table.
I'm sorry. I do have to give you some pushback.
Go ahead.
Because if it was an easy table, how come none of the other pros did it? Shane Van Boning tried. Earl Strickland tried. None of the other pros did what Jason Shaw did if it was such an easy table.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. I have made that point before. My point is only they didn't try to run 600 balls on a diamond with 4.5-inch pockets.
That I do agree with.
It was a gold crown with 5-inch pockets. Yeah.
Which is basically like the old
yeah.
The old straight pool standard, right?
Yep, that was.
Yeah, so.
Yep. When I started playing pool, it was 1980, and I played this bowling alley, big bowling alley near my house, had 4 pool tables, and I guarantee you they were gold crown ones with 5-inch pockets. That was the standard. That was the standard. All right, man, you got anything else?
There is one more question I think you might know. How many straight pool events are there in a count? Like, I guess prestigious straight pool. There's only one?
There's one. There's one left. There's one left. And it's the continuation of what was the main U.S. Open or whatever straight pool tournament from the 1970s, and it was held at the Main Street tournament pool hall or something like that. Charlie Williams had control of it for a while and was running for a while, and then it went to Peter Burrows, and now it's gone to Pat Fleming. And frankly, Pat Fleming is in his 70s as well. So there's this question, is straight pool teetering on the edge? Is it going to go away, or can we keep it going? I don't know. So far, they've managed to keep it going as a professional tournament once a year. Now, having said that, the Europeans play straight pool, and they have events, amateur and open events, with the Neils Fiejen goes in, and Thorsten goes and plays in them every year.
Yep.
And those events are combination tournaments. They play 9-ball, I don't know, I think it's 9-ball, 10-ball, and straight pool. And people get different awards. I don't know how it's all organized, but they do play straight pool, amateurs and open events in Europe. So in that sense, it'll keep going. I would love to see not only the pro tournament continue here, I'd like to see more tournaments. It's a hard thing to do. It's kind of like a one-pocket tournament. One-pocket tournaments are hard to organize on a local amateur level because you're taking up all the 9-foot tables for so long because the matches take so long.
Yep.
9-ball match, you can do a race to 5. It's over in an hour.
Yep.
So it's a hard thing for that reason. But
yeah, because
I'll keep working on it.
For businesses, it's all about time management, and like you said, to get a 32 player bracket, for example, to go through a 9-ball tournament is probably a fraction of a time than to get a 32 player bracket for a straight pool tournament.
Yeah.
Now you might argue like, well, what if the straight pool tournament was raced to 50? It's still going to be longer than a 9-ball tournament.
Yeah, especially
you can't go any I don't think you can go any lower than 50.
No.
It gets ridiculous at that point.
And at 50, when you get 2 of the amateurs playing, it can go over an hour, even in a race of 50. So, Dale says I should change the cloth. So this cloth is like a year and 3 months old, and it is getting kind of worn and dirty. It's got a few nicks in it, and it's slowed up. I think I should do that as well. This is also Simonis. This is not HR. So the HR is faster, and the HR is what was on the tables in Florida at this tournament, and it's what you find most commonly anywhere, any pool hall that you go to. So for that reason, I should change the cloth to HR. Now, that said, I'll probably wait till February or March because I want to get back into it, get back into training, and at first I'm not going to be playing any straight pool. I'm just going to be doing training and stuff. And I want to get to a point where I feel like my game is good and ready to go. Then I'll change the cloth because for the first month, the pockets will be softer because of the new cloth.
Yeah.
So I'll have a chance to run my 200. So I can put an asterisk. It was new cloth. All right. You're welcome, Joel, and everyone else that I didn't notice in the chat. Thank you so Chris, you were wondering about your role, and I think you were perfect. I think it was great having you on.
No, I have a lot of fun with doing stuff like this. I love hearing other people's aspects on events, and then I always love asking challenging questions, and then of course receiving challenging questions myself to make sure that just to put other thoughts and opinions out there as to why we are the way we are and why we participate or compete the way we compete, especially as amateurs. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's probably at least the best way for all of us to be able to learn from one another, because I think we'll hear from every professional about like, here's how you're supposed to do it because here's how they do it. So like we all strive to be professionals without being a professional, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is we're not traveling the world playing in these tournaments, but for some damn reason we want to play as good as them.
Yeah.
Right. But
yeah.
I think it's clear to say that in order to play as good as them, we got to do what they do, right? Which we got to travel the world. We got to find sponsors, money, all about money.
It's all about the money.
But some of us can, and a lot of us can't. So here we are.
All right, everybody there, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button and subscribe, and go to Little Chris's channel. It's LIL_Chris, Little Chris, and subscribe to him as well. We're going to do more stuff like this. We'll think of a theme, and maybe we'll get some more talking heads. Maybe Michael Yednak and Danny Baruti want to come on, or other players. So look for more stuff like this in the future. Let me know what you think in the chat, in the comments. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Okay. I think we're signing off. Good night. Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.